Chapter 1. Just at this time, Master Tsun spoke. If you have any questions, feel free to ask Senior Tang Tian. Practice well, don't be lazy. Tang Tian, pay attention to their practice. Some of the girls could not help but cover their mouths and stare with their eyes wide open. Xie Shengguan was a legend in Star Wind City, the idol of all the girls, the dream lover of all the boys. Her beauty was unparalleled, gentle and kind, and she had entered Andrew Academy with the best results. Ever since she entered Andrew Academy, she had always occupied the first position. Because of her existence, Andrew Academy's ranking rose. Last year, when she left Andrew Academy's ranking plummeted. Is that true? So fierce? Many people had a face of disbelief. Schwa, the gazes of the youths all turned to look at Tang Tian. That lazy figure, in many people's eyes, became taller and bigger. But I'm 13 years old this year, I want to enter a famous school. Another person said in distress. I think I've heard of this too. Another person added. The low sound of something breaking through the air caused everyone's scalp to tighten. Che, ignorant. No matter how good your fundamental martial techniques are, you still haven't passed the school examinations for 5 years. Our handsome Tang Tian Sr., when my brother was in Andrew Academy, he already practiced fundamental martial techniques. TSK, my brother is about to graduate. The youths came to the training grounds for the first time. Andrew Academy was one of the top 10 schools in Star Wind City. Although the facilities in the training grounds could not be compared to the first-ranked Tiantian Academy, but the facilities were still considered good. Even rank 2 martial techniques were slightly better, as there were some low-paid jobs. Although the days were tough, at least they could survive. Tang Tian pointed at the boy who had mocked him earlier, and clenched his fist so hard that it made cracking sounds. The boy's face turned white. He suddenly remembered Tang Tian's bad reputation and immediately kept quiet out of fear and ran to the side to practice. The boy immediately said proudly, "This Tang Tian Sr. is our Andrew Academy's legend. Andrew Academy has always only graduated early. Who would want to repeat a year? But our senior Tang Tian stayed, and the moment he stayed, oh my, I have to calculate, 5 years, 5 years. Think about it. What kind of concept would it be to stay in Anderson for 5 years? This is absolutely unprecedented. Why did he stay for so long? Someone couldn't help but ask, even if he can't get into a famous school, it's still very easy for him to get into an ordinary school. The stars in the eyes of the girls, who were originally full of stars, had now disappeared. Some had disdain, some had pity, and some had disgust as they whispered to each other. Moreover, this was the first practice class for the freshmen, so they were filled with curiosity about everything. The new student looked at her with an even more contemptuous gaze. I'm the one who can't be bothered to look at you. Your body can't even compare to a strand of Xie Shengguan's hair. He already has Miss Xie, why would he fancy you? The range of the basic sword techniques, slash was much smaller than the basic saber technique, but the instantaneous explosive power was better. Tang Tian vividly demonstrated the main point of the chop. The youths could clearly see the wooden sword bending and deforming in the air. Many youths subconsciously exclaimed softly. Many of them had no interest in basic swordsmanship. As the name implied, basic swordsmanship was the foundation of swordsmanship, and it was also the lowest level of swordsmanship. It was normal for the youths to lack interest in basic swordsmanship. However, when they saw the basic swordsmanship in Tang Tian's hands with their own eyes, although it was such a simple movement, it was filled with an indescribable explosive power and beauty. I've already explained the things in the textbook in detail to you. So from today onwards, other than the usual theory classes, you will spend most of your time on this martial arts field. If you want to get into a better school, studying hard is your only way. You have to remember, there are no shortcuts in this world. Cultivation will always be boring, don't take chances. An eccentric voice came from the group of youths. According to Tang Tian's age, this was his last year. If he passed this year, he would have exceeded the age limit for the school's admission. That meant that Tang Tian had to enter society. However, with Tang Tian's strength, it was impossible for him to find a job that could support him. Aya, This world is so cruel. Beautiful dreams are shattered so quickly. The youth's eyes were filled with longing and eagerness. Master Tsun's stern voice reverberated in the martial arts field. He was extremely fond of Tang Tian, which made him worried about Tang Tian's future. Tang Tian was already 17 years old. Amongst the group of 13 to 14-year-old youths, he was at the bottom. Why should he? If not for his good physique, I wouldn't even bother to look at him. One of the shrewish girls said with disdain. Until the end of class, no one jumped out. Tang Tian was very disappointed. He snorted and swaggered off. Tang Tian's face returned to its previous lazy expression. He casually threw the wooden sword into the corner of the martial arts field as if it had eyes of its own. Ideals, wealth, treasures, power, they were all there. The student sneered, "You saw it just now." With that physique of his, he could easily fight against 3 people. He's a habitual fighter. If he doesn't like someone, he'll fight. Other than Master Tsun, he doesn't care about any other teachers. He's the tyrant of our school. The number of powerful students who have fallen to his hands is not small. Too cool. Too perfect. Everyone's necks shrank. Many people looked at the gossipy youth with sympathy. The gossipy youth's face was already deathly white. The freshman who had been talking previously could not help but say, "Save it, stop dreaming. Although he's a retainer, he doesn't like you guys." Tang Tian's movements were as smooth as flowing water. They were pleasing to the eye. There was no pause in the middle. It was full of explosive power and beauty. When the last movement was completed, the entire field was silent. "Miss Chia." The other students saw this and hurriedly began to practice clumsily. The gossipy youth became even more spirited. "Do you know why? Our Tang Tian senior, in 5 years, did not even manage to learn a rank 2 martial technique. Instead, he managed to learn all the fundamental martial techniques. In this day and age, what's the use of fundamental martial techniques? If you want to be a chef, you need to have a rank 2 blade technique. If you want to work in a high-class hotel, you need to practice palm techniques. If you want to be a bartender in a nightclub, you need to know rank 2 concealed weapons. This is the threshold. If you don't pass this threshold, people won't even look at you. You said a star hotel? That's a high requirement. Other than rank 2 concealed weapons, you also need to have both ice and fire attributes. Tell me, what can fundamental martial techniques do? No matter how bad the school is, they need at least rank 2 martial techniques." Tang Tian's mouth twitched. This kind of thing happened every year and he was already used to it. However, he stared unkindly at the eccentric guy. Tang Tian was indifferent. "Hee, the little girl's heart is stirred." Seeing him so pleased, someone in the crowd could not stand it and sneered, "Hey, but I heard that our senior is not a good person. If you don't give him face today, be careful that he doesn't find trouble with you. He's a scoundrel, but a scoundrel is even more annoying. I don't like boorish men." Master Tsun nodded his head in satisfaction and turned to leave. Tang Tian made an "oh" sound and walked to the sword sheath in the corner. He took out a wooden sword from it. Once the wooden sword was in his hand, Tang Tian's eyes immediately became serious and sharp. The laziness from before disappeared in an instant. Tang Tian was indifferent. "Stop dreaming, be realistic. It's good enough if you can get into a good school." Looking at the young faces in front of him, he let out a light snort. On the endless heavens road, there were hundreds of millions of stars. It was the dream of the strong and the land of heroes. The gossipy young man became more and more pleased with himself. With the expression of a professional, he said, "What fundamental martial techniques? It's good enough as long as everyone is familiar with them. The earlier you start training in rank 2 martial techniques, the better. Those famous schools look for students who can train in higher-ranked martial techniques at a young age. If you can train in rank 2 martial techniques to perfection at 14 years old, you can enter a normal school. If you can break through to rank 3 at 14 years old, you can enter a good school. If you can train in rank 3 martial techniques to perfection at 14 years old, you can enter a good school. Your brother definitely didn't tell you, but he definitely got beaten up by me before." In the office building, Master Tsun stood by the window and looked down at the training grounds. His eyes were full of vicissitudes of life, but he was sighing in his heart. The male student sighed with deep grief and indignation. I want to know too. Let me tell you, because of Miss Chia's influence, none of the experts in our school will find trouble with him. After class, the others immediately surrounded the male student. The others were even more curious. Someone quickly asked, doesn't he only know fundamental martial techniques? And he's still so arrogant? Yes. The news of Andrew Academy having a super retainer was known by everyone. This was the most famous joke in Andrew Academy in recent years. Many of them had already decided to secretly pay their respects, but they did not expect that the legendary ultimate retainer was actually the powerful senior Tang Tian in front of them. Wow. So powerful. So fundamental sword techniques can be so powerful. All the exclamations immediately disappeared without a trace. The originally worshipful gazes quickly turned strange. The gossipy young man's face changed. Thinking of the unfriendly gaze from Tang Tian, his heart trembled. Tang Tian squinted his eyes and said in an unfriendly tone, "Who allowed you to be absent-minded in class?" "Oh right, I forgot to tell you, I am Master Tsun's assistant. I am in charge of supervising your training. If anyone doesn't train properly, I don't mind letting him have a real fight. You come out and train? Our task today is fundamental sword techniques. Martial techniques, no matter how well you understand the theory, if you don't train, it will be useless. But before you practice it yourselves, your senior Tang Tian will demonstrate it to you once." Senior Tang Tian is the most outstanding student in fundamental martial techniques in the whole of Andrew Academy. In this aspect, even I can't compare to him. You have to take a good look at what a perfect fundamental sword technique looks like. As usual, Tang Tian lazily stood on the training grounds. Seeing that the others agreed with his view, the gossipy young man became even more pleased. But fundamental martial techniques are still useful. If you don't practice them well, you won't be able to practice rank 2 martial techniques. If only he had a tenth of Xie Shengguan's talent. The freshmen were in an uproar. His left leg took half a step back, his waist slightly lowered, his right elbow pulled in, the tip of the sword raised, his eyes level with the tip of the sword. Preface Tangdun, let's begin. Master Tsun said. Tang Tian's expression was extremely focused. He slid forward, his shoulders not moving an inch, but his arms were like a whip. With a sudden shake, the wooden sword slashed downwards. No one would want to recruit a person who only knows fundamental martial techniques. His physique is good, and he's fierce. Bleeding is a common occurrence. There are many people who are stronger than him, but I have never seen anyone who is fiercer than him. Currently, our senior Tang Tian's worst record is that both sides are heavily injured, and this is against those ranked seniors. The student warned, you guys better not provoke him. Hiss. Tang Tian said loudly. Although Miss Chia had already left for a year, the legend of Miss Chia had not dissipated in Star Wind City. The sharp sound of something breaking through the air could be heard clearly. So handsome. Senior Tang Tian is so handsome. Senior, I want to go out with you. The eyes of the female students in the crowd were filled with stars. Tang Tian's figure was tall and mighty, but this fundamental sword technique perfectly displayed his flexibility. He did not have the slightest bit of stupidity, and gave people a feeling that he was extremely coordinated and nimble. The female students did not speak. If she dared to say a single bad word about Miss Chia, at least half of the people here would immediately attack. In an instant he had conquered these ignorant youths. With a slight deflection of his waist, his right elbow was like a loosened spring, and his wrist did not tremble at all. So he's just an idiot, he almost lied to me. His body is really strong. Why would Miss Chia fall for such a useless man? A female student's face was filled with disbelief. I knew it would be like this. Fundamental sword technique stab. Hearing the youths exclaim in surprise, Master Tsun was already used to it. He looked at Tang Tian in the arena. Although he did not know how many times he had seen Tang Tian practice, but every time he saw it with his own eyes, he could not help but feel amazed. When he said that his fundamental sword technique was not as good as Tang Tian's, he was not being modest. Hurry up and say it, I was halfway through. Tang Tian had already decided that after class, he would teach this guy a lesson. Maybe he did not have to wait for class to end. In this world, not everyone was a lucky person. Chapter 2. Tang Tian once again hung the bronze plate around his neck. He did not notice that the gray number on the bronze plate suddenly lit up with a faint light aura. Tang Tian jumped out of the pool, wiped himself dry, wore a clean shirt, picked up the letter for Xie on the table, and walked out of the house. Like picking up a chicken, he used one hand to pick him up. His eyes revealed a tinge of gentleness, but very quickly he regained his senses and took down the bronze plate from his neck. The bronze plate was tied with a red string. A few of the red strings were tangled together. One of them was made by his mother, and the rest were made by Xie. When Xie was in Star Wind City, every year, she would weave a new red string for Tang Tian's bronze plate. Looking at it, his entire body was covered in a faint mist, repeatedly practicing, occasionally stopping to think about it, but very quickly he would immerse himself in practice again. Time slowly passed, the sun rose from the ground, and the chill of the morning immediately dissipated. In these 5 years, Tang Tian had not changed at all. He casually washed up, turned on the light, sat in front of the table, opened up the letter, and buried his head in it and started writing. The few strong boys immediately panicked and wanted to pounce on him. Tang Tian was experienced in fighting. He raised the boy in his hands and smashed him towards the few of them. After he finished writing, he took out the Heaven's Road stamp that he had prepared earlier and stuck it on the envelope. He trained in the fundamental fist technique. Tang Tian's face revealed a look of disgust, although he was a tyrant in Andrew City, but he never bullied the weak. More importantly, the few of them blocked the school gates, and in a few minutes, class would start. The discovery of the bronze plate made Tang Tian curious. Newcomer? Tang Tian stood up, his expression unkind. Move aside. Kao. Hurry up, class is about to start. An hour later, Tang Tian opened his eyes. After doing all that, he stood up again and went to the courtyard. A proud-looking boy, his nostrils were almost up to the sky. The boy's clothes were exquisite. The material was rather good, probably from a good family. He was surrounded by a few strong-looking boys, all of them mocking him. In the mud in front of them was a skinny and weak-looking boy, bent over. His expression was painful. The numbers kept changing. Immortal Constellation was so far away. When Xie received the letter, it should be 3 months later. Star Wind City only had one Heaven's Road mail service, and that was the South Trade Wind Post Office. Tang Tian's speed was not slow. His fundamental light body techniques had long been trained to perfection. His upper body did not move an inch, but his legs moved in a unique rhythm. Every time he took a big step, it would be followed by 3 small steps alternately. Only then did Tang Tian start to cultivate a rank 2 cultivation technique. Dangerous. He carefully wrote down the address. Brilliance Immortal Constellation, Rainbow City, 15th Avenue, Rainbow Academy, 3rd year, class, Shengguan Chenhui. Tang Tian had worn this bronze plate since he was young, but he only found out about the number a few years ago. But Tang Tian didn't want to waste time, so he tried to think of a way. When Masterton heard of Tang Tian's situation, he invited Tang Tian to be his teaching assistant. He paid Tang Tian a 2nd-level spirit card, Secrets of Cultivating Qi, as remuneration. Before dawn, Tang Tian woke up on time. He began to crazily cultivate the fundamental martial skills and watched the changes every day. When he cultivated the basic sword technique to perfection, the numbers stopped jumping. Tang Tian started a new experiment. He tried to cultivate a rank 2 martial technique, but the numbers did not change. It was not until he switched to a basic palm technique that the numbers started to change again. Tang Tian's expression was focused. The boring cultivation didn't cause him to reveal the slightest hint of boredom. The seemingly simple basic movements were filled with beauty in Tang Tian's hands. This was the beauty of conciseness and harmony that had been tempered thousands of times. When Tang Tian was about to reach the school, there was a large group of people surrounding the school gate, so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. Tang Tian frowned. He had to be in charge of the sword technique practice today. It would not be good if he was late. He was grateful for Masterton's help and care. Hence, he was extremely serious in his work. He never came late or left early. It was completely different from his own style of teaching. As expected, Tang Tian is ruthless. In the blink of an eye, these people were defeated. Only the fundamental martial skills would cause the numbers to jump. And that bastard who abandoned his wife and son. After almost a year of training, his fundamental fist technique was almost perfected. The morning air brought with it a chill. Tang Tian stretched his arms and legs until all the muscles in his body started to move. Then he got into position and started his day of training. Tang Tian immersed himself in his training. Tang Tian didn't even look at the people on the ground. He rushed towards the training grounds. The bronze plate was the only clue he had. He only realized that the numbers would change after he started training the fundamental martial skills. The bell rang just as he stepped into the training grounds. The secrets of fostering qi was suitable for martial artists with poor innate talent. Its only advantage was that it had long meridians. Tang Tian's secrets of fostering qi was also close to completion. Low-level martial skills were relatively simple. They emphasized on perseverance and did not require too much technique. Tang Tian sighed in his heart. His gaze swept across the students of the sword technique class. After yesterday's gossip, Tang Tian's notoriety had spread. All the students were cautious. Tang Tian pretended to cough lightly. He waved his hand and said, "Start training. You're finished." He wondered what Xia was doing. He looked up at the blue sky. His heart was clear. He smiled and turned to walk towards the school. Damn, looks like I didn't beat him enough. Speaking of which, our school's spirit is not bad. Tyrant Tang's contributions cannot go unnoticed. Protect the school from evil. The warm air spread to every corner of his body, dispelling the coldness. It also allowed his exhausted body to quickly recover. Yo, you've eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's guts. You dare to meddle in my business? The leader mocked. A few of the thugs started to curse. Gu Xiaoyu, as long as you kowtow to me today, I'll let you go. Very quickly he was covered in sweat. His clothes were wet. Beads of sweat flowed down his neck. The young man's mind went blank. Although he was careless, he was not stupid. Very quickly, he found the pattern of the numbers changing. Every time he completed a basic martial skill, the numbers would jump. He regained the vigor of a dragon and the vigor of a tiger, and the weariness on his face was swept away. He did not get up immediately. Instead, he laid in the pool and stared blankly at the blue sky. Excuse me. His house was quite far away from Andrew Academy. There were not many people on the streets in the morning. He wrote a lot of things, and they were all about the small things that happened in his daily life. He folded the letter carefully, put it in the envelope, and sealed it. He grimaced, his expression was painful. He had to slowly get used to the cold water. After about 2 minutes, his body had adapted to the cold water. He sat cross-legged and started to circulate his mental cultivation. Ooh. Xia, how have you been? I've missed you. I'm doing well. Don't worry. A new semester has started. I'm still the assistant teacher of Master's and swordsmanship class. Without you around, I'm bored. They look down on me and I don't like them. Recently, Masterson's health hasn't been good. He's a good person. I hope he'll always be healthy. How's Uncle Chin's health? Say hello to him for me. I really want to see the immortal constellation's nebula waterfall. I wonder how spectacular it will be. I'm still training. Maybe I'll continue for a long time. But I don't want to give up. The morning water was bone-chillingly cold. The moment he fell into the pool, Tang Tian quivered. He had been in Andrew Academy for 5 years. His basic mental cultivation had long reached perfection. Basic mental cultivation did not care about one's foundation. As long as he persevered, he would be able to reach perfection in 1 to 2 years. Tang Tian's foundation was not good. His 5 elements were balanced. But he was not lazy. His basic mental cultivation had long reached perfection. He quickly started to look for a second-level mental cultivation. But Andrew Academy only taught basic mental cultivation. To learn a second-level mental cultivation, he had to enter the academy. Tang Tian's heart was filled with a strong desire. He wanted to know everything. He wanted to solve all the mysteries. The bronze plate was about the size of a coin. It was slightly old. On the front, there was an irregular cross pattern. Tang Tian flipped the bronze plate. Behind the plate was a meandering river. In the river, there seemed to be countless small stars twinkling. Tang Tian's gaze landed on the bottom of the river. There was a row of gray numbers. The numbers were extremely dim. If one did not look carefully, one would not notice it. Tang Tian knew that if he continued to dawdle, he would definitely be late. He could not be bothered to waste time. His figure flashed. His feet slid to the side. His whole body rushed in front of his opponent. Under his opponent's frightened gaze, Tang Tian's palm fiercely grabbed his opponent's neck. Heavy breathing could be heard in the courtyard. Tang Tian's hands were on his knees. Large beads of sweat slid down his chin and dripped onto the ground. He was too focused when he was training. He did not feel anything. But after he stopped, the feeling of exhaustion overwhelmed him. 5 minutes later, Tang Tian came back to his senses. He straightened his body and lifted his weak legs. He walked towards the pond in the corner of the courtyard. The pond was filled to the brim, and Tang Tian, who walked to the side of the pond, fell into it. Suddenly, an ear-piercing bell rang. Tang Tian stopped. Time's up. Basic fist techniques consisted of 3 movements: forward punch, jab punch, and hook punch. Forward punch was full of strength. Jab punch was quick and agile. Together with footwork, it was like a butterfly flying through flowers. Hook punch was in between, focusing more on the angle of attack. 999400. Because it was too early, the trade wind post office was not open yet. Tang Tian threw the mail into the post office's mailbox. From that day onwards, he realized that his mother, who was very ordinary in his heart, was not that ordinary. He suddenly realized that he knew very little about his mother's past. He pushed through the crowd. The students who were pushed away were about to curse, but upon seeing that it was Tang Tian, they immediately shrunk back. Year after year, basic martial arts techniques changed. The numbers went from 10,000 to 20,000. It kept on rising, but the bronze plate still did not have any reaction. The surrounding people's gazes gradually changed. All kinds of ridicule could be heard. Tang Tian also changed from a student of Andrew Academy to a retainer, then to a super retainer. Of course, he's an old-school tyrant. Sigh, it's the same every year. If we don't teach him a lesson, these newbies will not know their place. Stuff. You actually dared to? Chapter 3. The freshmen were shocked. This person had guts, he actually dared to barge in. But when some of them noticed the insignia on the man's body, they could not help but exclaim, "Too unmanly! Miss Chia actually took a fancy to such trash. This is like a flower stuck on a pile of cow dung." It was as if he had discovered a new continent. He quickly found out where Tang Tian was staying, and every few days he would go there for a fight, but this was the first time he had barged into Andrew Academy. It was no wonder the freshmen's faces were pale. Beast Academy had always been Andrew Academy's rival. Although they were not like fire and water, they were definitely not on friendly terms. Furthermore, what made the teachers and students of Andrew Academy even more embarrassed was that compared to the decline of Andrew Academy, Beast Academy was advancing triumphantly. The freshmen who were just a moment ago were suddenly choked by their necks, all voices stopped, and they stared blankly at the arena. A female student could not help but mock, "Senior Tang Tian, when someone bullies you, you don't even retaliate and just admit defeat? How is this possible? How is this possible?" Many of them could not bear to watch, in their own school, to be trampled on by a student from an opposing school. It was such a humiliating thing. The freshmen who were originally filled with sympathy froze on their faces. "So annoying," Tang Tian mumbled, turned over and went back to sleep. The intense sounds of fists and kicks clashing could be heard. Imo Li flew out like a sandbag. Just as he was about to fall heavily on the ground, Imo Li, with a dexterity that did not match his body, somersaulted in the air and landed steadily. Beast Academy is ranked 7th in the whole school. The freshman said, "See through your sister, there is actually someone more stupid than me. Is he really that powerful?" However, Tang Tian was not the least bit discouraged. His mind was filled with thoughts. This stupid cow actually dared to have ideas on Chia. He raised both his hands and lazily said, "I surrender. I admit defeat." Every time he heard this name, Tang Tian's forehead would be full of black lines. Although he only knew fundamental martial techniques, but this name was too. The fundamental martial techniques did not have any dazzling techniques. All the movements were very simple, but in the hands of the two, they were filled with destructive power. The Beast Academy was ranked 3rd. Compared to the Andrew Academy, which was ranked 10th, it was much higher. Bang bang bang. The students of the Beast Academy actually dared to barge into the Andrew Academy. They were too arrogant. They just had to witness such a humiliating scene. The Beast Academy was ranked 7th in the whole school. Two fists collided without any fancy moves. Many people were regretting their decision to attend this practice class today. The practice class was nearing its end. After correcting a few people's mistakes, Tang Tian realized that these people did not pay much attention to the fundamental martial techniques. He could not be bothered with them, so he simply found a sunny place and went to sleep. Not only was a Maori not angry, but he was even more excited. There was actually someone whose fundamental martial technique was stronger than his. "Tang Tian, you coward, quickly come out and fight me." A thunderous voice resounded throughout the entire martial arts practice grounds. The freshmen who were practicing their fundamental martial skills in the martial arts practice field all looked strangely at Tang Tian in the corner. Everyone was stunned. But Tang Tian's attacks were direct and efficient, his strength always exploding in an instant. The combination of several fundamental martial techniques was also much more varied than a Maori's. A Maori once passed by the Andrew Academy and saw Tang Tian battling with someone. His hands itched and without saying a word, he rushed up to fight Tang Tian. "A Maori, let me go, I surrender." Tang Tian completely ignored the surging emotions of the freshman. He opened his innocent eyes wide and looked at a Maori with a face full of sincerity. If he were to encounter such a torrential attack, he would have been defeated long ago. The freshmen who had just entered the school were completely dumbfounded. "It's over," someone subconsciously blurted out. Bang. "Who is a Maori? Is he famous?" Some freshmen could not help but ask. All the freshmen's faces changed. "What does my surrender have to do with you?" Tang Tian was flabbergasted. A Maori's pair of bull eyes were filled with excitement, spittle flying everywhere, as expected of perfect fundamental Tang. Perfect explosive power, perfect fundamental martial techniques, perfect strength. This really makes people excited. "Come, perfect fundamental Tang, let's fight." "You stupid bull, do you think you can use Chia's name?" With two people starting, the rest also started to denounce him. The martial arts practice field was filled with scolding. The freshmen were at the age where they were full of vigor. Tang Tian's action of directly surrendering, moreover the opponent was a student from the opposing school, immediately caused everyone to look down on him. Every time he was beaten by Tang Tian, he would be utterly defeated. "Mad bull a Maori!" someone in the crowd exclaimed. The two figures retreated 3 steps back. "Stupid bull, you actually dare to have ideas on Chia? You're dead meat." Every attack of a Maori was ferocious, using the heavy to break the light. Several powerful students emerged in a row, and their ranking also rose with the tide. Beast Academy emphasized on actual combat, and fights were common in the academy, but the school did not stop them, but encouraged them. As a result, the students that were nurtured were all brave and fierce. The students from ordinary schools were much weaker in terms of momentum when they fought against them. A Maori continued to spit, "Come, perfect fundamental Tang, let me witness your new martial arts path from the fundamental martial techniques." With Miss Chia's name, only the victor has the qualifications to gain Miss Chia's favor. "Come, perfect fundamental Tang." Perfect fundamental Tang. Tang Tian's eyes widened, killing intent surfacing on his face. His right palm was like a snake, wrapping around a Maori's arm. Fundamental palm arts, coil. In a split second, Tang Tian's other hand had already grabbed onto a Maori's waist. Fundamental concealed weapon technique, grab. In Andrew Academy, Only the top 10 experts in the entire school could fight against it, and that did not include Tang Tian. With Chia's name, like a ball of air exploding, the sound of fists hitting flesh made the spectating students suck in a breath of cold air. Tangdan, come out and fight with me. Damn it. Could this be the fundamental martial techniques that had no merit? Hey! Tang Tian roared and forcefully lifted a Maori's huge body above his head and fiercely threw him out. Evenly matched. This punch was actually evenly matched. Too frustrating. Tang Tian did not notice the gazes of the people around him, he only had eyes for the mad bull in front of him. Everyone could not help but keep quiet. A thunderous voice sounded from outside the school, waking up Tang Tian, who was basking in the sun and taking a nap. With a Maori's body blocking, all the sunlight above Tang Tian's head disappeared. The loud voice made Tang Tian's temples numb, and Tang Tian knew that his attempt to sleep had failed. Wiping away a Maori's saliva, he rubbed his temples and helplessly sat up. The freshman swallowed his saliva. With a trace of fear, he stared at a Maori and quickly said, Beast Academy's second-year student, born in the barbarian tribe, his body condition is excellent. He is swift and fierce, and is a famous expert in the Beast Academy. Senior Tang Tian is in big trouble this time. Tang Tian could not be bothered to talk nonsense with him. He knew that if he did not defeat the beast in front of him, he would not be able to do anything else. Both sides fought fiercely, every punch hitting flesh. The spectating students, from the initial shock, turned pale. Astonishing power and speed, simple techniques, it was not the least bit pleasing to the eye, but filled with a strong sense of impact. Stupid bull, you are dead meat. I will never come to the next practice class. Just thinking of seeing this guy makes me sick. Damn it, he actually surrendered to the Beast Academy. A Maori's eyes lit up, he similarly twisted his waist and threw out a punch, the same rushing fist. But he could also see that Tang Tian knew fundamental martial techniques, so he only used fundamental martial techniques to fight with Tang Tian. Beast Academy. Beast Academy. Mad Bull a Maori. Rank 7. Evenly matched. A Maori, who had his hands tied, was beaten up by Tang Tian. A Maori stared with his eyes wide open. He grabbed Tang Tian's collar and lifted Tang Tian up, opened his bloody mouth and roared, Come, fundamental Tang, let's fight. 5 years of fundamental martial techniques, such a tenacious martial artist's heart, you must be creating a brand new training method. Fundamental Tang. I have long seen through you. You can't fool me. As expected of the perfect fundamental Tang. A Maori's fundamental martial techniques, compared to the previous few times, were not just a little bit stronger. This did not surprise Tang Tian. A Maori's realm was much higher. As long as he was willing to spend time on fundamental martial techniques, there would be no obstacles. The power under his feet suddenly exploded. His whole body was like an arrow, pouncing towards a Maori. The moment his feet touched the ground, he twisted his waist and threw out a punch, fundamental fist technique, rushing fist. This meant that in this rushing fist, Tang Tian's strength was more substantial than his. Li became more and more excited, and came even more frequently. The more he came, the more he knew what was Tang Tian's weakness. But an even louder scolding immediately erupted. The entire martial arts field was attracted by this intense fight. A Maori's body was extremely tyrannical, his bulging muscles were like a sturdy wild bull. But Tang Tian had trained fundamental martial techniques for 5 years, every part of his body had been fully trained, his tall body was well proportioned, giving people a feeling of explosive power. My God, how can our school have such a high-quality person? Throwing our school's face. A tall and sturdy man, like a wild bull, rushed into the martial arts field, his mouth continuously roaring like thunder, his eyes looking around. After training fundamental martial techniques for 5 years, to be overtaken by someone else in such a short amount of time, if it was any other person, they would have long felt discouraged. This guy must be secretly coveting Chie. Ha, Tang Tian, you have finally been caught by me. Come, let's fight to our heart's content. Have a taste of my, a Maori's fist. The man laughed to the sky, his voice was like thunder. Amauri's eyes became brighter. He knew that in this punch, he had actually fallen into a disadvantage. In terms of pure strength, he was a notch higher than Tang Tian, but when their fists collided, they were actually evenly matched. That's right. Being unable to fight is one thing. If you don't even dare to fight, are you still a man? Another girl said with a face full of indignation. He completely ignored the other students in the martial arts field. Tang Tian was like a cheetah, his eyes focused, his expression fierce. Although he usually had a lazy look, once he started fighting he would be fully focused, his mind filled with only one thought, to defeat the opponent. Could it be that Senior Tang Tian caused some trouble? Chapter 4. Amauri immediately felt the pressure. The head of the Zhou clan's anger could be imagined. When he first sent his son to Andrew Academy, it was because Andrew Academy had always been the Zhou clan's territory. To any clan, the cultivation of a young person was always worth investing in. In the Zhou clan's hundreds of years of history, they had never stopped funding Andrew Academy. The movements of his hands were faster than his brain's reaction. It was not difficult for a high-level martial artist to learn a low-level martial technique. This was also the reason why Tang Tian, who had trained in fundamental martial techniques for 5 years, was laughed at. Everyone knew that mental cultivation was more important than martial techniques, and that high-level martial techniques were more important than low-level martial techniques. Finishing, the middle-aged man did not even look at the principal, and turned to leave with Zhou Peng. Amauri's gaze also became heated. He could clearly feel that Tang Tian's attacks were becoming faster and faster. His attacks were actually a bit faster than his thoughts. Like a ghost, he appeared on the left side of Amauri, his entire body twisted outwards, his right fist swinging outwards. After 2 days, he finally understood that the reason for his bottleneck loosening was because of the battle with Tang Tian. This reason was extremely important for him to break through the bottleneck. Hey! Tang Tian did not move an inch and said in disdain, "You are such an idiot, to dare use such a despicable method to scheme against me, you are too naive." This fist was extremely fast. The first time he met Tang Tian, he was excited. Amauri used fundamental martial techniques to exchange blows with Tang Tian, and without any suspense, he was completely defeated by Tang Tian. But after exchanging blows countless of times, he understood Tang Tian very well. This guy trained in the second rank of Secrets of Cultivating Qi, and was still a distance away from completing it. Tang Tian felt that the world was extremely quiet, and he could only hear his own heavy breathing. Slowly, his slow thoughts finally caught up. Tang Tian slowly regained his senses. Heavens! 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 Tang Tian! Amauri's eyes suddenly flashed with an indescribable passion. He looked at Tang Tian and raised his voice. "Come to the Beast Academy. A genius like you shouldn't be buried here. Come to our Beast Academy, Fundamental Tang, you will definitely shine." This was the first time Amauri had been beaten up so badly. Even when he fought against the #1 expert of the Beast Academy, Liang Qiu, he had never been in such a sorry state. While Tang Tian and Amauri were fighting fiercely, the atmosphere in the principal's office was terrible. As long as his true power was cultivated, it would be easy to learn martial techniques through the spirit cards. Wasting time on a low-ranked martial skill was an extremely foolish action. Amauri himself trained in the rank 3 Earth attribute martial technique, Earth-splitting chop. But when he returned, he suddenly realized that the bottleneck that he had been stuck in for a long time was showing signs of loosening. Amauri was overjoyed, but he also had some doubts. He began to rack his brains to think about the cause of the bottleneck loosening. Like a shooting star, Tang Tian's left hand smacked onto Amauri's left hand. Fundamental palm technique, push. At the same time borrowing the force, his body was like a slippery fish. His feet moved at an extremely fast pace to complete 3 small steps. Fundamental light body technique, broken steps. Wait! Tang Tian suddenly shouted. Both parties fell into a stalemate, but this battle had confirmed his guess. The battle with Tang Tian was indeed the cause. Tang Tian was a pervert. His fundamental martial techniques were able to suppress him by a head. Maori stared at Tang Tian for a long time. Then he angrily turned around and left. The enraged Tang Tian's chest was like a blazing fire. His attacks became faster and faster. Fundamental martial techniques were extremely simple. Fundamental martial techniques had been practiced hundreds of thousands of times. It had already become part of Tang Tian's instinct. The principal's face was so gloomy that it could almost squeeze out water. He roared in a low voice, "Call Tang Tian over." Tang Tian did not think too much. In his eyes, a Maori was just a piece of trash. He looked like a cow but had the attributes of a fly. Annoying. His strength was stronger. His understanding of martial techniques was far beyond that of a small fry like Tang Tian. Fundamental martial techniques to a Maori were not difficult at all. It was just that he did not pay much attention to it previously. After a few matches, a Maori's fundamental martial techniques improved by leaps and bounds. No one was interested in fundamental martial techniques. Before he met Tang Tian, he was also not interested. A Maori was a stubborn person. From then on, he would look for Tang Tian to have a match every once in a while. But in the past, he would usually fight his way to Tang Tian's residence. This was the first time he fought his way to the school. The principal's face was plastered with a flattering smile. He allowed the middle-aged man's saliva to splatter on his face. He did not dare to offend the person in front of him. If the school's income decreased this year, he would not even be able to survive this year. He would lose his position as principal. How could it be possible? How could the theoretical limit be broken? "Io, help me." Tang Tian maintained his lunging stance. He did not move an inch. He drew in a cold breath. "My waist hurt. Oh my God, it's going to hurt for a few days." He roared like thunder. His strength was transmitted from his waist to his wrist. Borrowing the momentum of his fall, he looked down from above and punched. The young master of the Zhou family could take liberties with girls. He could be tyrannical. He could treat others like grass. But he must not be humiliated. Tang Tian, who was unable to restrain his anger, completely exploded. He was interested in Tang Tian not out of boredom. From the first time Aimoli saw a hunter, the two of them fought. Later on, Aimoli would come over again and again. Every time, Aimoli would benefit a lot. Tang Tian, who had already reached his limit, the speed of his attacks, was actually increasing. Ooh! A Maori's bottleneck had been broken through. But he did not stop looking for Tang Tian to fight. At this time, Tang Tian's speed had already reached the theoretical limit of fundamental martial techniques. The afterimage from the previous move had not dissipated. A new afterimage would appear in the air. Unless Tang Tian trained in a rank 3 mental cultivation technique. With a higher level of true power, he would not be able to break through the limit of his martial technique. Both of them had outstanding physiques. A Maori had the advantage in strength, while Tang Tian had the advantage in speed and flexibility. Both of them were evenly matched. After scolding for close to an hour, the middle-aged man stopped. He calmed himself down and said to the principal, "No matter what, my son entered the school sponsored by the Zhou family. But he was almost murdered. That's right, this is murder. I am unable to accept this. The Zhou family is unable to accept this. You have to give the Zhou family an explanation." Tang Tian maintained his stance of a lunging fist. Not far from him, a Maori who was sprawled on the ground formed a strange scene. But this time, a Maori came prepared. No matter how crazy Tang Tian's attacks were, a Maori did not move an inch. It was obvious that a Maori had spent a lot of time on fundamental martial techniques. The difference between him and Tang Tian was negligible. What was the limit? The limit was impossible to break through. And in theory, the limit was even more impossible to break through. He was slightly stunned. The first reaction in his mind was, impossible. Tang Tian's extended fist landed on a Maori's left shoulder. A Maori struggled to climb up. His face was filled with disbelief. His left arm was numb and had no feeling. He did not know if the bones were broken. Pa. The training grounds was dead silent. Everyone's expression was sluggish. It was Tang Tian's first time encountering such a situation. If it was any other time, he would have been very surprised. But Tang Tian was in a state of rage. He had completely forgotten himself. Just as a Maori was in a daze, Tang Tian's eyes flashed with a cold light. His tall body was as agile as a leopard. With a tap of his foot, he rushed towards a Maori. But he never thought that he would still not be able to defeat Tang Tian. A Maori was not very sure. He ran to Andrew Academy to find Tang Tian for a fight. He was beaten up again. The Zhou family had great influence in Star Wind City. After a few hundred years of operation, the Zhou family's tentacles extended to every corner of Star Wind City. As the son of the Zhou family's patriarch, he was almost murdered in front of the school gates. This incident would definitely make the Zhou family the laughingstock of the other families in Star Wind City. Tang Tian, so what if you are a woman? If you are a man, you must create your own martial Dao. Come to Beast Academy. As long as the two of us work together, we can definitely create a new martial Dao. What could be more exciting than this? A Maori did not back down. He stared with his bull eyes wide open. His face was filled with excitement. One after another, the afterimages were like a flood, trying to drown a Maori. Bullshit. Tang Tian stared with his eyes wide open. His body was as still as a rock. He scolded loudly, "Stupid bull, you want to trick me into some stupid Beast Academy, then plot against Chie in a roundabout way. Let me tell you, stop dreaming. I have long seen through your plot." His attacks were already slowly getting out of Tang Tian's control. He had entered a very strange state. Your school actually has such a trashy student. I am really surprised. A middle-aged man with a rosacea nose waved his thick right arm in agitation. He flew into a rage. This is really unimaginable. Since my grandfather's time, my family has been supporting Andrew Academy. Every year, we have invested money and emotions, but in return, we actually received such a return. You all actually allowed such a despicable trash student to stay in school for 5 whole years. Has Andrew Academy fallen to such a state? As the principal, you have an unshirkable responsibility. Humph, stupid bull. I am warning you, if you dare to have any ideas about Chie, I will definitely beat you into minced beef. Tang Tian looked at a Maori with a face full of warning and disdain. A Maori was petrified. Tang, you degenerate man. A Maori was like a sandbag, falling heavily on the ground. Voila, he slid on the ground for 7 to 8 meters before stopping. Tangtan, I will not give up. A Maori's eyes were like a ball of fire, his voice resonating. The roaring sound waves instantly blasted his ears into a daze. As expected of perfect foundation Tang. Did I see wrongly? I really must have seen wrongly. A Maori was getting more excited. This was the first time he had seen the limits of theory. He did not even win once. A Maori had been suppressing the anger in his heart. He was an expert from Beast Academy, but he could not even beat a bottom-ranked student from Andrew Academy. If this was spread out, how embarrassing would it be? Even if everyone used fundamental martial techniques, and he had put in a lot of effort, how could he still lose? A huge force came through, a Maori's face changed, and before he could react, he was sent flying. Bang! This. Beside the middle-aged man was a young man with a swollen face. He had a proud look on his face. It was the new student that Tang Tian had taught a lesson to. Tang Tian did not know that the young man that he had taught a lesson to was the son of the Zhou family's patriarch, Zhou Peng. A Maori was shocked, his left hand subconsciously grabbing the air. What he could not forgive was, this stupid fly, stupid bull, actually dared to have ideas about Chia. In a moment of desperation, a Maori's body leaned to the right. After fighting for a while, a Maori slowly found the reason: fundamental martial techniques. Because he realized, as his fundamental martial techniques became more proficient, his earth-splitting chop's power increased. A Maori stopped in his tracks, turned his face. His face was filled with ecstasy. Fundamental Tang, I knew it, your martial artist's heart, you are finally not willing to be ordinary, and together with me, you will create a new martial path. Chapter 5. Tang Tian suddenly turned his face. His face was full of blood stains and his fierce gaze. Immediately, the teacher was so frightened that he retracted the second half of his sentence. With a cold snort, he walked towards the door. After applying the medicine, he could not bear it any longer and fell asleep. Just as he stepped out of the school gates, an old voice came from behind him. He tried his best to raise his head, ignoring his blurred vision, and replied loudly like a soldier, "Teacher, I will not give up." Tang Tian's face was covered in blood, but he did not care. His fierce gaze swept across the other teachers. The teachers were completely intimidated by Tang Tian's aura, and could only watch as he left. Again, this made Tang Tian somewhat surprised. Based on his experience, he still needed about a week to perfect the foundational fist techniques. The principal was completely stunned by the blow. Everyone was shocked by Tang Tian's crazy actions. His movements were light and fluid. With just a thought, the foundational fist techniques flowed like water, and Tang Tian completed the demonstration. Every teacher's strength far surpassed Tang Tian's, but Tang Tian's ferocious aura caused them to keep quiet out of fear. "How dare you insult Teacher Tsun?" Tang Tian was like a completely different person. His expression was ferocious, and he grabbed the principal's neck. Like dragging a dead dog, he slowly dragged the principal's fat body in front of him. Tang Tian subconsciously raised his head. Teacher Tsun stared at the rebellious youth in front of him. In Tang Tian he saw a shadow of himself when he was young. So strange. Tang Tian's roar was shockingly low. Tang Tian grabbed the principal's neck and exerted strength. For the first time, he felt ashamed. If not for him, Teacher Tsun would not have been kicked out of Andrew Academy. Teacher Tsun had taken care of him, but he had caused so much trouble for Teacher Tsun. Although Stupid Cow was stupid and sinister, he was still a good person. The ointment he received was very useful. His waist, which was injured in the fight yesterday, had already recovered. The wounds on his hand and forehead had already formed scabs. Courting death. Tang Tian lowered his head like a child who had done something wrong. His body's reaction was faster than his mind's reaction. Everything can wait until this brother wakes up. After a good night's sleep, Tang Tian had already put yesterday's messy matters to the back of his mind. He, who had a one-track mind, became energetic again. Tang Tian, who was still in a daze, had no idea that the numbers on the back of the bronze plate were constantly changing as he practiced the fundamental fist technique. Tang Tian's body stiffened. He turned around and saw that it was Teacher Tsun. He stammered, "Teacher." Tsun Laosher's wrinkled face did not show the slightest bit of sadness or anger. He waved his hand and said kindly, "Don't feel guilty, I've long wanted to retire." When he finished the last round of basic boxing techniques, the number jumped to 1 million. The river above the number suddenly lit up with a bright light. This light expanded at an astonishing speed and turned into a dazzling light. "Let me tell you, no school will accept trash like you. Scram, you've trained for 5 years and you're still stuck with fundamental martial arts. Your brain is full of shit. You can only stay in the slums forever, dirty and messy, surrounded by trash just like you. This is what a youth is like." The principal only felt an indescribable sense of freedom. All the grievances he had just suffered were now completely vented. "You actually dared to attack?" One of the teachers suppressed the fear in his heart and said with a trembling voice. Thinking of a Maori, Tang Tian suddenly remembered the strange state he was in during the battle yesterday. The principal looked at Tang Tian in disgust. Tang Tian, who had just fought with a Maori, was covered in mud and his face was swollen. The principal felt like a pig's head. He actually allowed trash like this to stay in Andrew Academy for 5 years. It's all that damn Tsun Laosher's fault. The hand that was strangling his neck was like an iron pincer. His face was slowly pulled closer. Back home, Tang Tian fell on his bed. The same unruly, the same arrogance, the same self-righteousness, the same stubbornness, and the same unwillingness to admit defeat. After training in fundamental martial arts for 5 years, he was extremely experienced in this area. He could almost close his eyes and predict his own training progress. The only thing that made him feel uncomfortable was Tang Tian's unruly expression, as if he did not care at all. This was the first time he encountered such a situation. He was too tired yesterday and did not think much about it. Now that he thought about it, that strange state was extremely mysterious. He frowned and thought for a long time with a bitter face, but still could not understand. After a while, Tang Tian decided to find a job the next day. Washing dishes was not a problem, as long as he could support himself. Tang Tian. Teacher Tsin's tone suddenly became strict. Raise your head. The principal raised his head and looked down at Tang Tian. His eyes were filled with disdain and contempt. Let me tell you, Tsin Laosher will scram with you. That damned old man, his biggest mistake in his life was meeting you. He will pay for his mistake. Why? The principal was amused, his expression extremely exaggerated. You actually dare to ask why? My God. I have been the principal for so many years, but I have never seen such a trashy student like you. Look at you, fighting, brawling, you are an out-and-out scoundrel. Scum like you will only bring shame to Ender's name, to the point of being unbearable. You can scram now. From today onwards, you are forbidden from entering Andy. The matter of him being expelled from the school was a foregone conclusion. He had beaten up the principal today. No matter who begged for mercy, it would be useless. But Tang Tian did not have the slightest regret. If he could do it again, he would still do it. But now, Tang Tian had calmed down and thought about it carefully. He immediately realized that there was something fishy about it. He had safely stayed in the school for 5 years, but was suddenly expelled today. There must be someone behind this. So shameful, he actually cried. Tang Tian decisively punched a few times, his face showing a satisfied expression. He scratched his head. He secretly decided, if he found out who was behind this, he randomly found some food to fill his stomach. Tang Tian was stunned. He felt that it was strange. Why? Forget it, let's not think about it. Tang Tian's fierce and terrifying face entered his vision. The principal's legs uncontrollably trembled. He was indescribably frightened. If he did not go to school, what would he do in the future? The students along the way were all frightened by Tang Tian's gloomy face and automatically took a detour. The other teachers in the principal's office were also stunned by this turn of events. After deciding not to think about it, he immediately forgot about this matter. Qualified. Tang Tian was very clear about his own limitations. Although he was not stupid, he was not a very intelligent person. If he did not understand something, he would not think about it. The principal was stunned by the sudden turn of events. His mind was blank. After making his decision, Tang Tian immediately became carefree. Today, he had a fierce battle with a Maori and caused a ruckus in the principal's office. He was really exhausted. One more time. Old Man Tsin could not be left alive. Tang Tian did not look at these people again and turned to leave. Just now, Tang Tian, who did not care, was now like an enraged lion. His hair was standing up, his eyes were bloodshot, the veins on his forehead were popping out, causing his face to be distorted and terrifying. After thinking about it, he suddenly thought of the new students in the morning. Could it be this group of people? Tang Tian secretly noted it down. This matter was not difficult to investigate at all. He was very clear about the character of this group of people. If they were the ones who did it, they would definitely be proud of themselves and announce it. The principal's torrent of anger came to an abrupt stop. A trace of ruthlessness flashed in the principal's eyes. The most important thing now was to appease the Zhou family's anger. He suddenly remembered that the reason why he agreed to let Tang Tian stay was not only because of Old Man Tsin, but also because of Chia Shangguan. Chia Shangguan was the #1 expert in Andrew Academy at that time. The glory of Andrew Academy in those years was all because of Chia Shangguan. A total of 10 times, all of them qualified. According to the usual experience, the bronze plate would think that Tang Tian had mastered the fundamental fist technique to perfection. While working and training, he did not believe that the numbers on the back of the bronze plate would be meaningless. What reason would he have to give up on a goal that he had persevered for 5 years? That was his goal. Even until now, he had never thought of giving up on his goal. The first action, he felt something was different. After saying that, he fled. When Tang Tian woke up, it was already late at night. He woke up hungry. Bang. The dazzling light instantly engulfed Tang Tian. Tang Tian's forehead smashed into the principal's face. With a mournful cry, blood splattered everywhere. As long as he was in school, Star Wind City had a special allowance for the students. Although the allowance was not much, it was enough for him to live on. That blurry but warm figure would forever be engraved in his heart. 999. As his agitated emotions slowly calmed down, Tang Tian became somewhat at a loss. 5 years of living like a day suddenly ended. He could not help but be at a loss. Tang Tian got into a stance and began his daily training. In this period of time, he trained in the fundamental fist technique. Tang Tian, from tomorrow onwards, you don't have to come anymore, the principal coldly announced. The anger in Tang Tian's chest danced wildly and spread everywhere. In the entire Andrew Academy, Masterson was the person he respected the most. This damned fatty dared to insult Masterson. Even if I have to leave, I, Tang Tian, will leave with my head held high. Without looking at the number behind the bronze plate, Tang Tian knew that his fundamental fist technique had passed. But he did not think too much about it. What he was troubled about now was, what kind of fundamental martial technique should he train next? 10000000. This guy was crazy. He was crazy. He dared to make a move on the principal. Tang Tian. The anger in his heart gradually subsided. Looking at the familiar grass and trees, thinking that he would not be coming back tomorrow, suddenly, Tang Tian felt a little sad. He bit his lips hard, raised his head, and tried his best to look like he did not care about anything. Tang Tian released his palm, and like a pile of mud, the principal fell to the ground. The other schools would definitely not accept him. Without the allowance, would he go and find a job? Xie Shengguan had also left, but he still insisted on applying the ointment that a Maori gave him on his wound before he fell asleep. Tang Tian's nose turned sour, and tears flowed down. The haze in the sky was swept away, and the sun shone on his heart, giving him an indescribable warmth. Bang bang bang. A scarred hand clutched his neck. His face softened, and with a serious but warm voice, he encouraged, "Don't give up." Chapter 6. The man in gray was not afraid, and faced it head-on. Suddenly, the flame leaped. The insignificant body, the ambition to reach the clouds, the Southern Cross heavens, the door of hardship. In theory, any martial technique could give rise to a killing technique, but in reality, there were too many martial techniques that did not have a killing technique. The requirements to comprehend a killing technique were harsh. One needed to completely understand the essence of the martial technique, and at the same time, one needed luck. There were not many movements in the fundamental martial technique, so it was very fast to practice. When the last movement was completed, Tang Tian thought it was over. Suddenly, the man in gray clapped his left palm, push, followed by 3 lightning-fast, broken steps. His body soared into the air, and in mid-air, he twisted his waist and threw a punch. Forward punch. The berserk Tang Tian looked around, as if he wanted to dig 3 feet into the ground. After searching for half a day, the man in gray did not come out. The flame in Tang Tian's eyes began to recede, and very quickly, he found the man in gray in the cross heaven's door. The man in gray once again became a statue, motionless. Tang Tian had long thrown the question of what the man in gray was to the back of his mind. Now, he only had one question in his mind: how to defeat this damned man in front of him. The man in gray on the ground turned into a gray mist and disappeared. The man in gray suddenly raised his head. His gaze was piercingly cold and ferocious. Tang Tian was stunned. Such a powerful technique? Was it actually done by him? Tang Tian was stunned by this surreal scene. In just a short while, the man in gray had already walked down from the door. Therefore, the pursuit of killing techniques was always one of the goals of people. The man in gray also rushed over. "Hey, who are you?" Tang Tian tried to shout. Spirit cards could allow people to quickly learn new martial techniques. As long as they had a better financial situation, they would spend most of their time on training their mental cultivation. With enough true power, they could use higher-level spirit cards, which also meant that they could learn higher-level martial techniques. Indeed. It was exactly as I thought. Tang Tian licked his lips, suddenly exerted strength in his legs, and like a cheetah, he rushed towards the man in gray like lightning. The move that he had unintentionally come up with was actually a killing move. The man in gray looked very similar to Tang Tian. The foundation of 1,000,000 is complete. The door of the Southern Cross is open. Before the two fists collided, Tang Tian's fist suddenly tilted to the side. In an instant, his fist turned into a palm and met the man in gray's fist. His right arm suddenly became soft, like an old vine, wrapping around the man in gray's fist. Suddenly, a faint gray figure slowly appeared on the door. Pa! If you dare to fight with me, I'll slap your face on the door. Tang Tian spat out these words fiercely. There seemed to be a voice constantly shouting in his heart. Tang Tian's fists unconsciously clenched. He suddenly raised his head, and his gaze became as sharp as a knife. After the man in gray finished his demonstration, he remained motionless like a wooden man. The 5 fundamental martial techniques were constantly being disassembled, clashed, and resisted at an alarming rate. The corners of Tang Tian's mouth suddenly curled up in a cunning smile. Forward punch against forward punch. Tang Tian, who was still in midair, used the force from his hand to regain his balance. At this time, he was looking down from above, and his body was falling. Without thinking, Tang Tian released his palm, and using the force from falling, he bent his elbow like a hammer and hit the man in gray's stomach. At this time, the cross in midair, like a door, slowly opened. Killing move, reverse punch kill. Both of them started a new round of fighting. There were not many techniques involved. Both of their moves were direct and efficient, using speed to fight speed. Tang Tian was not his usual self, and took the initiative to attack. It was as though his body was filled with energy. Both of them were extremely fast, and the force from their forward charge was ferocious. With Tang Tian's entanglement, both of them lost their balance in midair. Tang Tian, who was in midair, twisted his body into a strange angle. He bellowed and threw out a punch, his accumulated energy exploding in an instant. Tang Tian gasped for breath, fiercely staring at the man in gray in front of him. He resisted the urge to rub his fist, which had already turned from painful to numb. More importantly, the battle was too intense, and he could feel his stamina quickly draining. The man in gray in front of him did not show any signs of fatigue. A line of blood-red words floated above the man in gray's head. "Come on, little guy. How do I fight?" After being in Andrew Academy for 5 years, Tang Tian knew what a killing move was. Comprehended basic killing move, reverse punch kill. This was what it meant to be a Thai. He squinted his eyes. Not only was he not afraid, he was even excited. His thinking was simple. The man in gray obviously knew the secret of the bronze plate, so he had to beat the man in gray to truly unravel the secret of the bronze plate. Killing move. The man in gray did not seem to hear him, and suddenly started to practice his basic martial techniques. Basic fist techniques, basic palm techniques, basic light body techniques, basic concealed weapons, basic sword techniques. Tang Tian had a strange feeling, as though he was training in front of a mirror. Forward punch against forward punch. Tang Tian's face was ferocious, his mouth letting out a beast-like roar. Concentrating all his strength, he fiercely smashed the man in gray into the ground. But what exactly was this thing? He then realized that the light spots were actually 4 stars. Below the cross, 16 words, emitting a faint light, appeared on the door. The distance between the two of them was not far. He did not feel anything when they fought yesterday, but now that he saw it with his own eyes, he could feel a wave of killing intent rushing towards him. These were the reasons why he could run amok in Andrew Academy. But in front of the man in gray, he lost all of these advantages. Whether it was strength or reaction, the man in gray was not inferior to him. His familiarity with the basic martial techniques was also perfect. As for his ferocity, the man in gray did not know fatigue, did not know pain, and was even stronger than Tang Tian. Tang Tian curled his lips, disapproving. "His level is about the same as me." The man in gray seemed to have heard Tang Tian's thoughts, and his body trembled. A gray foot stepped out from the cross door. Two fists brimming with power, like two whistling meteors, were about to collide head-on. I have waited for this day for 5 years. The man in gray did not move forward, but only stared coldly at Tang Tian. The man in gray did not show any signs of fatigue, his body was flawless and flawless. Just now, he borrowed another punch to increase the distance between him and the man in gray, gaining precious time to breathe. Tang Tian's angry roar, mixed with the dense sounds of fists and kicks, was incessant. After more than 10 rounds, Tang Tian did not gain the upper hand. It was the first time he encountered such a situation. It was not that he had never been in a difficult situation in a fight, but in terms of these 5 basic martial techniques, no one was able to suppress him. Is this the secret of the bronze plate? Tang Tian muttered to himself. He stared blankly at the cross that was emitting a faint light, lost in thought. With his body as the axis, the man in gray was like a sandbag that was forcefully swung by Tang Tian. As though he had sensed the change in Tang Tian, the man in gray revealed a cautious stance. Tang Tian stood in the void of the universe. In front of him was a dazzling galaxy. The stars were as numerous as the sand in the river. Suddenly, a dot of light flew out from the galaxy. The dot of light flew towards him, becoming bigger in his field of vision. Although the killing technique sounded powerful, but Tang Tian was stunned, he was still very calm. Very few people would waste their time on low-level martial techniques, not to mention basic martial techniques. Fundamental fist technique, fundamental sword technique, fundamental concealed weapon, fundamental light body technique, fundamental palm technique. The secret is right in front of me. As long as I defeat him. The 4 stars flew in front of him and suddenly connected in pairs, forming an irregular cross. A circle of light appeared around the cross, and the light quickly transformed into a door, with the cross imprint appearing on the door. Tang Tian was like a wild beast, suddenly sensing his opponent's hostility. The hairs on his back stood up. His waist quickly bent down, his feet missed, his body leaned forward, and both his hands formed a micro-field. Defeat him. As long as I defeat him, I will know the secret of the bronze plate. Who? What a powerful technique. Bang. The ground trembled, and dust flew everywhere. The frequency of their punches and kicks was astonishing, fighting fast against fast. Bang, bang, bang. The sounds of their punches and kicks colliding were as dense as a rainstorm. The more they fought, the more uncomfortable Tang Tian felt. Tang Tian's body also lost balance, but he was prepared. He exhaled, and did not loosen his grip on the man in gray. His strong waist strength suddenly exploded. The two figures constantly separated after coming into contact, and then pounced forward again. The speed of their attacks was extremely fast. Sometimes they were fighting in a small space, sometimes they were fighting with their fists, sometimes they were punching out, their feet moving at an astonishing speed, the two of them moving like shadows. Using speed to fight speed, using heavy fists to fight heavy fists, the young man's eyes were blazing. Comprehending the killing technique, entanglement kill. On the other hand, it was the fundamental martial techniques that he had practiced countless times. Although the fundamental martial techniques were only rank 1 and had little power, but their movements were simple and fast. And the close to perfect fundamental martial techniques allowed him to compress the time needed to attack. In the hands of Tang Tian, who had an abnormal physique, the power was not bad at all. The man in gray in front of him had the exact same movements as him. 5 years, a full 5 years, 5 years of bitter training, wasn't it all for the secret of the bronze plate? Fundamental martial techniques did not consume any true power, and everyone was still competing in terms of physique. Sure enough, it was like that. There were a few reasons why he was good at fighting. One was that his physique was outstanding. After training in fundamental martial techniques for a long time, his body was very balanced, tall and well-proportioned. His explosive power, reaction and physique were all better than the average person. Even with a Maori's terrifying physique, Tang Tian was only slightly weaker in terms of strength, but in terms of agility, reaction and speed, he had the advantage. Almost at the same time, the man in gray also leapt up, using the same reverse killing fist. Tang Tian was at a loss. The man in gray gave him a weird feeling. It was as if Tang Tian was fighting against himself. Every time he made a move, the man in gray was extremely familiar with it. Even if he used some unconventional attack methods, the man in gray would always easily dodge them. Tang Tian, whose eyes were filled with a sea of fire, completely did not notice the line of words that flashed past the door. He did not have the slightest intention of letting the matter rest, and flipped over to attack again. Tang Tian did not know how many times he had fought with others, and immediately understood he could not escape from this one. He had fought with a Maori a few times, and a Maori's punches were equally powerful and heavy, but compared to this punch, it was a completely different feeling. This punch from the man in gray was filled with explosive power. Staring blankly at the shining cross for a long time, Tang Tian did not understand what exactly was this thing for. Tang Tian quivered and blurted out, "Killing technique." The so-called killing technique was a sublimated move. After comprehending the true essence of the martial technique, its power far exceeded the normal moves of the martial technique. Generally speaking, the killing technique of a martial technique was equivalent to a higher-level martial technique. However, its consumption was less than a rank 3 martial technique. After 5 years, he had finally unraveled the secret of the bronze plate. Defeat him. A strong force came from the fist, and Tang Tian's forward charging figure could not help but stop. He opened his eyes wide, a little surprised. Such a strong punch. His clenched fist loosened slightly, and then quickly clenched again. Without any warning, his legs exerted force, and like lightning he once again pounced towards the man in gray. Other than that, although Tang Tian was simple-minded, when he fought, he was extremely fierce and brave. Exchanging injury for injury was a common occurrence, and normal students would be afraid before the fight even started. The man in gray's body arched like a shrimp. Chapter 7. Tang Tian's eyelids twitched as evil thoughts sprouted from his mind. Could it be? How did you know I dropped out? Tang Tian's face darkened. Everything around him was so familiar, as if the scene that had just happened was just an illusion. After being stunned for a moment, the insensitive Tang Tian felt that this was better. Haha, I must defeat little Hui a few more times. Then I will have more time. Tang Tian was excited, his right hand clenched into a fist, his face glowing, with his left hand on his waist, his right hand pointed at the gray shadow on the door. Little Hui, in front of a godlike man, obediently bow down. Obediently let me defeat you. The next time I see Chia, I must give her a fright. Wah! Tang Tian's face darkened. Could it be that the bronze plate was given to his mother by that bastard? Defeating myself? Defeating myself. Great good. Rewarded training time, 10 days. The young man's face was determined. Without hesitation, he turned and walked towards the cross door. Tang Tian did not know how to describe his feelings. In 5 years, he had grown from 12 to 17. He had already become the oldest student in Andrew Academy. The first thing that entered his vision was the black floor beneath his feet. He did not know what material the floor was made of. It was as smooth as a mirror, reflecting Tang Tian's figure. Stepping on it, the floor was as hard as steel. Tang Tian curiously looked around. The floor was about 3 feet in circumference. It was empty, surrounded by a thick fog. He tried to walk to the edge of the fog, but the fog seemed to have a strange repelling force. No matter how hard he tried, he could not walk into the fog. He stood there in a daze for a while, before regaining his senses. He clenched his fist, muttering to himself, "Mother, I will definitely unravel the secret of the bronze plate. I will definitely find that bastard, and drag him to your grave to repent." Rewarded training time? Tang Tian clenched his fist tightly. Tang Tian did not understand. When his mother was alive, she never urged him to train. Could it be that his mother did not know the use of this thing? Then where did his mother get the bronze plate from? How is it? You've earned big. A Maori thumped his chest loudly with a proud look on his face. As long as you recruit him, your lousy school will definitely be able to turn things around. This practical guy immediately turned his attention to his spoils of war. What could be more exciting than a trophy? Tang Tian shuddered and turned pale with fright. Tang Tian curled his lips in disdain. Nonsense. Tang Tian came to a sudden realization. An ominous glint flashed in his eyes and he clenched his fists tightly. He would definitely get even with them. Tang Tian instantly had the urge to burst into tears. Good? Tang Tian's gaze became more and more focused. He could finally cultivate a rank 2 martial technique, he could finally touch upon the true secrets of the bronze plate, but he still knew very little. At this moment, his palms suddenly warmed up. Sounds powerful. Old Fartway chuckled, squinted his eyes, and sized up Tang Tian. Bang! An earth-shattering knock on the door shocked Tang Tian. The door shook violently and looked like it was about to fall apart. Thinking about how the man in gray used the exact same technique as him, what bullshit self, even if he knew it, the man in gray knew it. But didn't he still lose to me? Tang Tian thought about this and felt a little proud. 10 days of training? What is this? I can finally get back the time. A Maori frowned, squatted on the floor, and looked like he was deep in thought. Tang Tian rolled his eyes at the side. Bro, can't you understand that he was being sarcastic? The number 0 on the light door was bright and clear. Did it reset to 0? Could it still be a fundamental martial technique? Tang Tian shook his head. He guessed that it should be a rank 2 martial technique. Suddenly, the cheers stopped, and Tang Tian's smile froze on his face. He suddenly realized a very real problem. Where could he learn a rank 2 martial technique? Don't you know? The Zhou family did not want to spread it, but who knew that young Master Zhou was so stupid and proudly announced it. He said that he will be the big boss of Andrew Academy. Now the whole Star Wind City knows, the Zhou family has lost a lot of face. A Maori said, "Hey, hurry up and pay me for the door." Tang Tian reminded a Maori, "Don't waste my time, I still have to find a job. Even a godlike man has to find a job." Woo, that makes sense, that makes sense. But, such an interesting thing, a Maori, don't tell me you don't want to participate? Old Fartway smiled at a Maori. In the past 5 years, he had spent an incomprehensible amount of time on fundamental martial techniques. His time, compared to others, was 4 years less. But now, he finally had a chance to catch up to others. Wait a minute. Finally, he did not have to worry about losing the bronze plate. A Maori looked at the door, then retracted his gaze with a face full of enthusiasm. Fundamental Tang, come to Beast Academy. After going in and out many times, Tang Tian roughly understood the use of the cross door. How, when the time comes, that bastard man will definitely regret giving the bronze plate to his mother. A Maori was shocked, with a face full of admiration. Ah, even you can see it. What surprised and amazed him the most was the reward of cultivating time. When he stepped into the cross door, it was as if the time in the outside world stopped flowing. He stayed inside for a long time, but the time outside did not move at all. When Tang Tian walked out of the cross door, it was as if he was shuttling through countless lights, but this illusion was extremely short. In the next moment he felt something under his feet, causing Tang Tian to immediately realize that it was his own floorboards. Tang Tian immediately gave up. Damn it, there really are people more stupid than me in this world. Greatly disappointed, Tang Tian waved his hand. Let's discuss the matter of you compensating for my door. Genius? Old Fartway squinted his eyes. Fundamental martial techniques genius? Tang Tian, who was about to flip out, was stunned. Beast Academy? Connections? What connections? A Maori's face was blank. Cough. Tang Tian loosened his fist, pretending to cough lightly, acting like an experienced person. Stupid cow, don't tell me you have some connections in Beast Academy? Tang Tian helplessly looked at a Maori, muttering in his heart, how could there be such a stupid person in this world? When he stepped into the cross door, the scene in front of him changed. Even a bronze rank 2nd rank spirit card was not cheap, and the spirit card had to be prepared by oneself. But when one entered the school would distribute a spirit card according to the student's strength. Seems like it? A Maori had a look of realization, nodding his head continuously. Fundamental Tang. You are finally expelled. Aha, that's great. That's really great. A Maori's ecstatic roar came from outside the wooden frame. After hesitating for a while, Tang Tian walked towards the door without hesitation. In order to find the secret of the bronze plate, he spent a total of 5 years practicing fundamental martial techniques. Wasn't it all for this day? Also, there were no traces left by his mother, school. Tang Tian's spirit was reinvigorated. He felt that his decision was really a genius. The wooden door finally could not bear the ravaging, and with a loud bang, it broke into countless pieces. Suddenly, on the shiny black mirror-like floor, a line of red words appeared. Yes, do it like this. The lion's mouth was ruthless and inhumane. Tang Tian lowered his head, and a cross that was exactly the same as the one on the cross door appeared in his palm. I really am a godlike man. Haha. Zhou family. Deal. Old Fart Wei agreed without hesitation. Spirit card. Spirit card. Spirit card. Tang Tian's eyes stared blankly, his mouth muttering. He subconsciously touched the bronze plate on his neck, but his hand touched empty air. Damn it. Haha. That's great. That's great. A Maori's saliva flew in all directions, his huge body rushed in like a gust of wind. Fundamental Tang. That's your destiny. You are destined to create a brand new martial Dao with me. Come to Beast Academy. Let's create a brand new martial Dao together. A Maori's entire palm was embedded into the floor. The edges of his palm were densely packed like spider webs of cracks. Cheers came out from the house. Tang Tian looked at the old man in front of him, who was dressed more shabbily than him, turned his head suspiciously, and looked at a Maori. This stupid bull can't be pulling me to do good deeds, right? Sure enough, in the next moment, Tang Tian appeared in his own bedroom. After being angry for half a day, Tang Tian was no longer angry. He had thought it through. If the bronze plate was really given to mother by that bastard man, then that would be even better. Seeing him like this, Tang Tian did not even have the urge to scold him. Tang Tian finally understood what it meant to have a house in trouble. He stared blankly at the broken pieces of the wooden door. Pung. Tang Tian was completely dumbfounded. This was simply an unscrupulous businessman. Tang Tian looked at the cross-light door. In a daze, did mother come here before? He wanted to make good use of the bronze plate, use the bronze plate to make himself stronger, and then defeat that bastard man. Thinking of that bastard man's regretful expression, that must be awesome. Rank 2 martial techniques and fundamental martial techniques were different. Rank 2 martial techniques required spirit cards. Without a spirit card, it was impossible to learn. A martial artist used his own spirit to imprint a card, and that was the spirit card. The spirit card had 2 most important functions, one of which was to learn martial techniques. Although Housefly Cow was a little stupid, but I can't not be loyal. Amidst the falling dust from the ceiling, Tang Tian was dumbstruck, his eyes staring blankly. He was about to open his mouth to stop him, when he suddenly heard a Maori counting with his carrot-thick fingers. It's not that I can't go, but the treatment must be guaranteed. 1 rank 4 spirit card, blade technique type, at least a silver grade card. 3 times the usual allowance. 5 level 4 star stones, 50 level 3 star stones, and full marks for all the subjects. If I can fight my way into the top 50 of the Star Wind City prefectural examinations, I will be rewarded with 5 rank 4 star stones. Top 30, 10 rank 4 star stones. The top 10 will get 20 tier 4 star stones. The top 5 will get 40 tier 4 star stones, and the first place will get 1 tier 5 star stone. When Tang Tian heard these 2 words, he became even more suspicious. Which school would not allow such a sloppy person to hold a post in the school? Could it be? No matter how strong or weak you are, you will always be the enemy of your life. This is the battle of your life. You have nowhere to run, you can't be lucky. Victory will make you invincible, defeat will make you mediocre. The red words on the black background, deep and demonic. Bronze plate. A Maori was extremely pleased with himself and continued, he is the martial artist I admire the most, with the strongest martial artist's heart, determined to create his own martial Dao, with the perfect foundation, Tang Tian, a godlike man. The young lad's face was filled with longing. Although he looked like a good person, but he could not pick this time. Tang Tian felt the ground shake and almost lost his balance. Tang Tian opened his eyes wide, his face full of surprise. Suddenly his heart moved, the scene in front of him changed again, and he was back in front of the cross-light door. Tang Tian could not stand it anymore. In his eyes, this old man was obviously trying to hit on a Maori, with a face full of temptation. Although he wanted to enter the school, but if it would cause a Maori to suffer losses, he was not willing. "Old Fartway, I've sent a genius to your school," a Maori said casually. He was obviously very familiar with the old man. At this time, a Maori who was squatting on the ground suddenly slapped the ground excitedly. "Ha! I have an idea." The bronze plate actually fused into his body. Seeing this, Tang Tian could only be more direct. "I only know the fundamental martial techniques, and was just expelled. How can the Beast Academy accept me?" Tang Tian scratched his head. After struggling for a while, he still understood a few things. The bronze plate should be an object used to aid in training. The requirement to activate it was to practice 1,000,000 fundamental martial techniques. Until today, 5 years of seemingly foolish persistence had finally paid off. Although he did not seem to care about it on the outside, but in his heart, he had always been under immense pressure. Every day, the only thing that could motivate him was the cold numbers, every beat, and the desire that was buried deep in his heart. Tang Tian longed to find the bastard who abandoned his wife and son, beat him up like a dog, and drag him to his mother's grave to repent. He longed to fulfill his promise. He promised Xie that he would definitely go to Immortal Constellation to see her, and they agreed to go to Heaven's Road together. So, he clenched his teeth and persevered. The cross slowly faded, until it disappeared. "I want to go to Heaven's Road. I want to find Xie. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Bang, bang, bang." His neck was empty, only left with 5 red ropes intertwined together. Tang Tian's dazed gaze suddenly came back to his senses. He suddenly remembered that if the door was broken, he would not have the money to repair it. Tang Tian jumped up anxiously. This made Tang Tian feel that it was inconceivable. He was stunned for a long time, then regained his senses. A smile spread across his face like a ripple, turning into a laugh. "Come to the Beast Academy. Come, come, come." A Maori looked at Tang Tian anxiously. When this idea popped out, Tang Tian felt that it was possible. Every time his mother changed the red ropes for him, she would look at the bronze plate in a daze, revealing a reminiscing expression. He had seen people tearing at people's scars, but he had never seen someone tearing at people's scars like this. Where did the bronze plate go? Chapter 8. Thousand Vortex Fist Technique. The fist was like a vortex, hundreds and thousands of twists and turns without any gaps. It required the activation of the water element true power. The old man's calculations were very precise. To master a rank 2 martial technique to perfection, it was not that easy. Rank 3 was even more difficult, and the old man did not actually put in much effort. "Oh right, what's the name of our school?" Tang Tian suddenly thought of this question. 2 hours later, in a desolate and dense forest. "Fist techniques? There aren't many people who learn it. Let me find it." Old Fartway took out a few bronze spirit cards and placed them in front of Tang Tian. "Here, these are all. Pick one." Not far away, Old Fartway sighed, struggled to climb into the old hammock under the shade of the tree, and slept soundly. Tang Tian subconsciously turned his head, and was immediately petrified. Tang Tian looked at the few dilapidated wooden houses that were about to collapse, his face lifeless. "Oh, rank, number 352. Old Fartway blinked his small eyes. Seeing that these required the activation of the 5 elements' true power, Tang Tian did not hesitate to give them up. Very quickly, there were only 2 spirit cards left in front of him. Withered Tree Fist Technique. The sword was like a withered branch, using clumsiness to win, using defense as offense, required the activation of the wood element true power. Tang Tian was speechless. How much did the founder love Sakuma? But he quickly threw this weird name to the back of his head, rubbed his fists and asked, "Where is our school?" A Maori frowned and thought for a while. "I think it's 350 schools." The created spirit cards had 2 functions. One was to summon the spirit for one's own use, the other was to possess the body. When the spirit card was possessed, the information in the spirit imprint would be received by the user. Old Fartway's voice came from behind. Tang Tian did not turn his head. Principal actually woke up so early? A Maori revealed a bashful look. I think I met him once when I was young, and he praised me as a genius. Every time we met, he would praise me, and after a few years, we became close. Tang Tian had a good impression of Housefly Cow. What a good person. This is Caramel Academy? Tang Tian turned around with a sluggish expression. He stretched out his hand and pointed at the small wooden houses in front of him that were about to collapse. Aimoli did not forget to add, I think he's right. Nonsense. Old Fartway jumped up. It's obviously the 354th. The blazing sun fist technique. The fist was like the blazing sun, radiating a boundless radiance, domineering and overbearing. It required fire attribute true power to activate. Tang Tian woke up early the next morning. There was nothing better than being able to focus on cultivation. Tang Tian's face darkened. Third from the bottom. A Maori also yawned and crawled into his wooden hut to sleep. Rushing in front of Tang Tian, a Maori threw the tree trunk on his shoulder to the ground. The ground under Tang Tian's feet trembled. Ha! Even though the conditions are tough, hey, a young man should temper himself. Old Fartway was not embarrassed at all. On the back of the card, there was a description of the spirit card. The bronze-ranked spirit card was bronze in color. In the middle of the card, there was a blurred figure of a man, standing with his fists clenched. Different cards, the figure inside would have different postures. Tang Tian immediately made a wise decision. He found a broken knife from the pile of junk and passed it to a Maori, chopped them into wooden planks. What about now? Tang Tian's face was filled with suspicion. Sigh, I'm old now. I can't sleep as well as you youngsters. Old Fartway said helplessly. He continued, oh right, what type of spirit card do you need? Don't. Flash fist technique was as fast as lightning. All kinds of true power could be activated. Ho ho. Old Fartway continued to blink innocently. 2 days ago, the last student transferred to another school. No problem. Is it enough? Do you want me to get a few more? A Maori had a look of excess energy. A Maori could only look at Old Fartway. Under the night sky, Old Fartway, who was under the hammock, opened his eyes. He glanced at the dim orange light in the wooden house. His mouth curled into a smile. His muddy eyes were extremely deep. Don't tell me this little difficulty is enough to scare you guys? Old Fartway blinked his eyes. Even for a person like Tang Tian who had absolute confidence in his own strength, when he saw the inhuman barbaric bull, he was dumbstruck. In the beginning, possession was a method of battle. But as people realized that using such a method to learn martial techniques was easier and more convenient, the spirit card quickly became popular. Until now, the spirit card had been popular for thousands of years. The system had also become huge and detailed. Deal. Tang Tian was satisfied. Old Fartway patted his chest. Don't worry about this. Caramel Academy has a history of 80 years. No matter what, they have some assets. I can pay you guys a portion now. Ranking. Tang Tian's eyes widened. Young people are indeed full of energy. I like it. Oh, it's not far. Old Fartway smiled so hard that his eyes could not be seen. A Maori carried a huge tree with a diameter of more than 3 meters on his shoulder. The other end was dragged on the ground. It was like a charging wild bull, rumbling and rolling over. Caramel Academy. Old Fartway laughed. The spirit card contained the martial artist's spirit imprint. It contained the martial artist's comprehension of the martial technique. The higher the quality, the more comprehension. The bronze rank only had 30%. The silver rank was 60%. The gold rank contained all the comprehension. A Maori suddenly realized, no wonder you're willing to spend so much. It must be because your points are too low and you're about to be disqualified from the academy. Hey, old fart, are you going to pay us our salaries or not? Old Fartway pointed at himself and said, young people, you're indeed full of energy. Tang Tian picked them up one by one and carefully selected them. Hearing the word spirit card, Tang Tian was immediately energized. Tang Tian, who originally wanted to work for the spirit card, was already satisfied with the spirit card. No problem. A Maori thumped his chest, turned around and rushed into the forest aggressively. Where's the teacher? Tang Tian continued to ask. Building a house? A Maori looked at the dilapidated wooden house. He suddenly realized something. His eyes lit up. You're indeed a godlike man. I've said it before. To fundamental Tang, this kind of difficulty is not even worth mentioning. Tang Tian started to plan. This place was too far away from Star Wind City. He needed a place to stay. 3 people each had a house. That was 3 wooden houses. Simple and crude training facilities like the wooden stakes were also necessary. Among the dilapidated wooden houses, there was said to be a library. Tang Tian reckoned that there were some useless things. But he still decided to build a small wooden house. Oh, to store these miscellaneous things. Although he was very tired yesterday, he had a routine life. His biological clock made him wake up on time. Beside the academy was a small stream. The cold stream water woke him up immediately. I'm definitely not lying to you. 50 years ago, Caramel Academy had fought its way into the top 50. Old Fartway swore. Not long after, boom boom boom, the ground trembled. Tang Tian did not sleep immediately. He opened up the letter and wrote to Chia. Chia, I've changed schools today. The new school is called Caramel Academy. Interesting, right? This school is filled with the aura of nature. Tang Tian turned and asked a Maori, how many schools are there in Star Wind City? Tang Tian did not look back. He turned and walked into the forest. A Maori exclaimed, Old Fartway, you're too miserable. Didn't you say your school is in the top 50? Young people are indeed full of energy. Regardless if it was summoning or possession, there was a time limit. Tang Tian was overjoyed. He hurriedly picked one by one. Tang Tian's training talent was average. But he did not know if it was because he had been fighting too much recently. The feeling of using his fists to punch people was refreshing and delightful. Rank 2 will do. Oh, let's start with the fist arts. Tang Tian turned and asked a Maori, how did you get to know him? He was truly a perfect human-shaped machine. Tang Tian's heart was filled with emotions. He buried his head and continued to work. Thinking of a Maori, who was a maniac for strength, Tang Tian decided to choose the flash fist. Aha, although I've met with a small problem but... Old Fartway laughed. When a martial artist mastered a certain martial technique to perfection, he could create a spirit card. The quality of the created spirit card was separated into 3 grades: bronze, silver, and gold. Although the name was unfamiliar, Tang Tian did not think it was a big deal. As Star Wind City subsidies were huge, it led to the number of academies in Star Wind City. For Andrew Academy to be able to fight its way into the top 10, it was definitely one of the famous academies in Star Wind City. But most of them were small academies. It was normal to not have heard of them. Building a house. A Maori's eyes lit up. He snatched the broken blade and rushed towards the gigantic tree like the wind. Tang Tian was impatient to listen to his nagging. He pointed to the depths of the forest and said, Go get some wood. Tang Tian was speechless. He looked at the academy that was nearing the ruins. A broken wooden pole hung a rusty metal plate. On it were the words, Caramel Academy, written crookedly. The nameplate fluttered in the wind. Tang Tian's heart turned cold. A Maori's strong body looked pitiful under the gigantic tree. His mouth formed an O shape. All the muscles on his body bulged. Every step he took would sink deep into the soil. The gigantic tree crown behind him was like a gigantic broom. It forcefully swept out a path. Old Fartway blinked his eyes innocently. The old man muttered, All right, double the subsidy. I can't go any higher. You can pick any bronze card. There are rank 2 and rank 3 cards. The school can provide them. But any card, you have to train to perfection before you can choose a new card. After all, this is for you to train. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Heavy fist. It was heavy and powerful. It used heavy power to break techniques. All kinds of true power could be activated. Tang Tian snorted. With a gloomy face, he started to roll up his sleeves. Hey old fart. Fundamental Tang's treatment can't be too low. I'm here because of him, a Maori said to old Fart Wei with a sense of loyalty. All these years, Tang Tian had been alone. He did many things like repairing things. His style was swift and decisive. Very quickly he cleared a piece of land. Looking at the brand new wooden house in front of them, Tang Tian and a Maori were filled with a sense of accomplishment. The wooden board that a Maori chopped was as smooth as if it had been plated. And Tang Tian's carpentry skills were not bad either. The two of them had been tossing and turning for an entire day. They were extremely tired. Are you trying to scare us? Tang Tian's face was fierce. He stared at old Fart Wei unkindly. This thick will do. Tang Tian gestured. His expression was solemn. This is a very practical training. The requirement is, it must be absolutely precise. Where are the students? It can't be just the two of us, right? Tang Tian asked. Oh, Fundamental Tang, what are you doing? Are you going to beat him up? Actually, he really needs a beating. A Maori tilted his head and looked at Tang Tian. He asked curiously. Let's rest. Tang Tian waved his hand and entered his own wooden house. The night passed. Chapter 9. Looking down, the cross imprint on his palm had unknowingly appeared. 3 days passed by unknowingly. The method was wrong. With the spirit possession, Tang Tian quickly found the feeling of punching. Although he was not able to dodge with one punch, but 5 to 6 punches, he could still succeed once. The method was still wrong. When the spirit possession was in his body, Tang Tian inherited the card creator's Flash Fist Enlightenment. But these enlightenment were forcefully poured into his body. To transform it into his own, he had to make use of this period of time to continuously train and ponder. The bronze plate wouldn't make the spirit card that he had painstakingly obtained disappear, right? He did not expect that this light door could actually enlighten a killing technique. His eyes became calm once again. Activating his true power, he poured it into the spirit card in his palm. The bronze spirit card suddenly lit up with a faint light aura. The spirit card seemed to have come alive, and the palpitating chi immediately became denser. Tang Tian stared blankly at his arm that was half stuck in the door. He felt a strange sensation coming from his palm. The light door was like a soft and fine net. The arm that was stuck in the door seemed to be pushing the net open. Suddenly, a scorching sensation came from his palm. Tang Tian immediately woke up. His vision was a blur. Tang Tian's mind suddenly had these two words, Door God. Tang Tian's gray vision floated with many red words. He was curious at the beginning, but when he saw the last sentence, his fists suddenly clenched tightly. His face was filled with fighting spirit and seriousness. He raised his head, his expression was somewhat dazed. He breathed out a long breath. This was his first time training for such a long time. For 3 days, other than meditating, he did not rest at all. He tilted his head and studied for a while. Hey, young lad. Oh no, uncle. Tang Tian suddenly extended his right finger and pointed at the shadow man on the door. He stared and shouted, Are you here to fight? Flash Fist, S specialty was flash. The fist would suddenly disappear, and when it reappeared, it would have already hit the enemy. Tang Tian's head exploded. His brain was suddenly stuffed with so many things. Caught off guard, his brain became numb. But very quickly, he broke free from his stupefied state, and a strange feeling arose in his heart. The information that was stuffed into his brain seemed familiar. The two contradictory feelings of familiarity and unfamiliarity were intertwined together. It was indescribably strange. Suddenly, the spirit card transformed into a ray of light and entered Tang Tian's body. Flash Fist, Rank 2. Number of Flash Fists required to comprehend, 200,000. Number of Flash Fists needed to comprehend the killer move, 400,000 times. The fist seemed to suddenly disappear in the air. Tang Tian felt a flash in front of his eyes, and the fist broke through the air again. At this moment, half of Tang Tian's body seemed to be embedded in the door. When his body was halfway in, suddenly, there was an extremely strong suction force inside the door. Before Tang Tian could react, he was sucked into the door. Without thinking, Tang Tian slapped the shadow on the door. The two people on the door were like the living alternative versions of door gods. Even their expressions were extremely appropriate. Tang Tian's eyes widened, and a look of surprise flashed past his eyes. Wasn't this the information that was stuffed into his brain by the spirit card when it was attached to his body? Flash Fist was only one level higher than the fundamental fist arts, but the techniques and difficulty involved were much more complicated. Similarly, its power could not be compared to fundamental martial techniques. Tang Tian was surprised. Before he could react, a suction force came from his palm, and the information that was stuffed into his brain was suddenly sucked out. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. He was eager to try, and there was no fear in his heart. One punch after another, the shouts resonated. Tang Tian's spirit was roused. He was very experienced in fighting, and immediately realized that if he were to encounter such a fist art in a real battle, it would be a very troublesome matter. Tang Tian grinned. He tried to extend his arm deeper into the door, and the information that entered his body increased. Seeing that, Tang Tian used his strength to probe deeper, and eventually squeezed his entire body in. This time, hardship training is activated. Duration, 10 days. He was already lagging behind too much. Only by working harder than others, would he be able to see hope. Cross light door, with the cross as the boundary. On the left was a gray man that looked like him, and on the right was a blurry and skinny shadow man. Wait a minute. Tang Tian raised his fist, and shouted loudly to encourage himself. Tang Tian was stunned, but quickly reacted. When training the fundamental fist arts, one needed to complete 200,000 perfect punches to be able to master it. Tang Tian continuously tried to wave his fist and carefully experienced the technique of exerting force, completely forgetting himself. And the most difficult part was the change in rhythm. Extremely fast punching speed, coupled with the rapid change in rhythm, was able to unleash the true flash fist. But the bronze card was the lowest level, and many of the details of the martial technique were very vague, and the understanding it contained was also the most superficial. Thus, the bronze card could not comprehend the killing technique. Only the silver and gold cards would contain the killing technique. Rank 2 martial techniques, he could finally train in rank 2 martial techniques. An hour later, his fatigue was swept away. He jumped up and started training again. Without any warning, Tang Tian almost cried out in surprise. As for the 400,000 flash fists, Tang Tian did not even put it in his eyes. He only needed to suffer a little and he could learn the killing technique. Where else could he find such a good thing? The bronze card Spirit General possessed the shortest time, which was only 3 days. The silver card could possess it for a month, and the gold card could even possess it for a year. Tang Tian's mind was filled with training, and he did not think about the mysteries of the bronze plate anymore. He had long gotten used to the jumping numbers over the years. Clenching his fists tightly, a smile appeared on Tang Tian's face like a ripple. He opened his mouth, revealing his snow-white teeth, and the smile on his face was as bright as the sun. Thinking about this, Tang Tian's eyes twitched. Without saying anything, he immediately thought about the bronze plate. Tang Tian carefully caressed the spirit card in his hand. This was his first martial technique spirit card. The spirit card was the size of a poker card, very thin, and the card had a strong metallic texture, hard and tough. But the strange thing was, countless of information seeped through the net into his arm and into his body. But at this moment, the aura emitted by the skinny figure was many times stronger than before. That's right. Perspiration flowed down his face. Tang Tian panted with all his might, his rapid and heavy breathing, like a bellows being pulled. His face was pale, his arms could no longer be raised, and his legs were like lead. Tang Tian suppressed the weird feeling in his heart and tried to throw a punch. The speed of the flash fist was astonishing, and it required a high burst of power. Other than the technique of the burst of the arm muscles, it also required the strength of the waist and abdomen, and at the same time, it required the coordination of the footwork. After training for more than 2 hours, he had almost used up all his energy. He sat cross-legged and activated the secrets of cultivating qi, the warm qi nourishing his body. What a powerful flash fist! The silhouette on the cross door did not have any reaction. With the experience of the predecessors, learning martial techniques became much easier. Teachers imparting martial techniques could not be like the spirit cards, which allowed the learner to directly experience the feeling of training the martial technique. The popularity of the spirit cards was directly related to its own characteristics. So you guys came here. Tang Tian, you will become stronger. You will definitely become stronger. Tang Tian, you can do it. Tang Tian's body suddenly trembled. The sense of estrangement and familiarity suddenly disappeared. Tang Tian muttered in his heart and walked a few steps forward, his face almost touching the door, his eyes bulging out, staring straight at the silhouette. His mouth did not forget to mutter, "Hey little guy, are you scared?" Although the opponent's aura was unusually fierce, to Tang Tian, who did not know fear, it only made him more excited. Continuously throwing punches, continuously comprehending, continuously depleting his energy, meditating to recover, and so on. The space behind the cross door was very mystical. Although he would feel tired, he would not feel hungry. Killing moves were good stuff. Any killing move of a martial technique, its power would be much higher than the martial technique's ordinary moves, and some of the killing moves could even match up to a higher level martial technique's ordinary moves. There's a killing move. The surroundings quickly darkened, and the cross door once again appeared in front of him. But when Tang Tian's gaze landed on the cross door, he was stunned. The spirit card that had just disappeared suddenly appeared on the door. Although the skinny figure was very blurry, but Tang Tian could recognize it with one look. What a strange feeling. It was like he had trained in the flash fist for a long time. But after laughing for a while, he could not laugh anymore. Although the door god was interesting, but thinking about how the spirit card that he had painstakingly obtained was gone just like that, Tang Tian's face could not help but turn bitter. Raising both of his arms, Tang Tian looked like he was hugging the sky, and shouted with all his might. There was a time limit for the spirit general possession. He had to make use of this time to strengthen his body's memory, and only then, when the spirit general possession disappeared, he would not be beaten back to his original form. You are as weak as an ant, your talent is terrible, you are as lowly as dust, you are unarmed, sweat is your only weapon, you have no time to waste. When he regained his senses, his face suddenly changed. Spirit general possession, possession duration, 3 days. When Tang Tian's attention landed on the lines, almost immediately, a familiar feeling surfaced in his heart. Tang Tian lowered his head and looked at his fists. Tang Tian became excited. He opened his palms and could not believe that he could actually do this. Tang Tian was excited. He took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Damn it. Tang Tian looked around and realized that he had appeared on the black mirror floor behind the cross door. Suddenly, a line of red words appeared in front of him. Tang Tian was startled and put down both of his arms and looked carefully. Tang Tian laughed out loud. He felt that his idea was too interesting, too appropriate. I've struck it big. The spirit general on the spirit general card was blurry and skinny, standing empty-handed, but there was an aura that caused people's hearts to palpitate. One on the left and one on the right, the man in gray had an indifferent expression, and the shadow man was dangerous and fierce. Suddenly, Tang Tian slapped his forehead. He remembered that when the man in gray appeared, he fought with him. Could it be that the shadow man wanted to fight with him too? This slap, his hand landed on thin air. Tang Tian felt his eyes darken, and then a faint light aura lit up. Tang Tian did not dare to waste time, and calmed himself down to think carefully. Who? Chapter 10. Opposite him stood 2 people. One of them had a frivolous look on his face. It was Tian Lin. Tian Lin was an expert of the Beast Academy, ranked 9th. Tang Tian's Dantian pool had 2 places, one above and one below. Above was the 2nd-level Dantian pool, and below was the 1st-level Dantian pool. There was also the super retainer who was chased out of Andrew Academy and was famous throughout Star Wind City. He did not sleep or rest. Ever since he found out that he would not starve inside. Other than meditating, he practiced flash fist technique with all his might. He had already completed more than 786 flash fists. For the killing technique, he happily jumped behind the light door, waving his hands and legs like a child. Schwa, his figure flashed and quickly appeared opposite him, acting humble and bashful. "Oh, I think you are right." Ooh. Compared to the 200,000 flash fists, 786 was simply a small number, but Tang Tian was not discouraged. He knew, as long as he could endure the most difficult period at the beginning, the number of successful flash fists would greatly increase in the future training. Then let the results speak for themselves. Only third level and above could pass through the Heaven's Road Star Door, enter Heaven's Road, and go to Immortal Constellation Mountain to find Chia. For 5 consecutive days and 5 nights, Tang Tian was immersed in crazy training. The principal knew that Amaury was serious and could not help but be disappointed. "Amaury, I hope you will not regret your choice today." Mad Bull Amaury was not a nameless person. In his second year, he was ranked in the top 10 of the Beast Academy and was seen as the successor to Liang Qiu. Amo suddenly turned, raised his eyebrows, and squinted his eyes. "Tian Lin, if you do not want your mouth to be smashed by me, you better shut it." The floating energy, once entered Tang Tian's body, followed the circulation route of its secrets of fostering qi. When it reached the Dantian, it transformed into true power and was stored in the Dantian pool. Tang Tian grinned from ear to ear and excitedly jumped up from the ground, raising both of his arms high up. The principal softened his tone. "I am too busy with work and did not pay enough attention to you. If you have any grievances, feel free to tell me." Did he encounter some kind of obstacle in his cultivation? Spirit cards? Rank 4 silver grade spirit cards. You can choose 3 of them. An hour passed. Along the way, he turned a blind eye to the pointing and whispering, but he couldn't help but clench his fists again. He secretly made up his mind. The second Dantian pool was slowly filled. "Schwa," he returned to his original position and said with a face full of admiration, "I feel that Flash Fist is not a problem at all for the godlike youth. I want to go to Immortal Constellation Mountain." The number of times he completed his Flash Fist had already surpassed 8,000. The number on the back of the Door of Light was jumping at an obvious rate. The absorbed energy was converted into true power and injected into the Dantian. After another round of purification, it was injected into the second-tier Dantian pool. The howling wind of the fist sounded again, this time with even more force. His Flash Fist success rate began to increase, from completing 1 Flash Fist in 10 punches to completing 3 Flash Fists in 10 punches. This process was extremely slow and tedious, testing one's patience. As the energy slowly transformed into true power, the nourishment of his body also slowly recovered. Rank 3. Beside Tian Lin was a tall young man, with a solemn expression, said in a deep voice, "Amaury, do you really intend to fall like this?" The other was also not a nameless person, Star Wind City's ultimate retainer, Andrew Academy's #1 school tyrant, the super trashy student Tang Tian who was hated by countless people, the super trashy student amongst the trashy students. Tian Lin's eyes flashed with a trace of anger, but he kept his mouth shut. Once Amaury got angry, he would definitely not rest until he was dead, and Tian Lin did not want to be entangled by Amaury. Amaury bowed to the principal seriously. "Thank you for your concern. I will work hard. For myself. My own martial arts?" The principal laughed involuntarily. "Amaury, although your talent is not bad, you are still young. The most important thing for you now is not to find some illusory martial arts, but to build a solid foundation. All the martial arts are not imaginary. True power starts from the lower Dantian. With every increase in rank, it will form a Dantian pool in the higher part of the body. Step by step, it is like climbing the stairs to heaven." Another voice full of ridicule sounded out, the dignified Beast Academy's future star, running to the legendary ultimate retainer. "What a disgrace. For 200,000 times." But Tang Tian did not care. As long as he had the spirit cards, he would be satisfied. But Big Brother Liang Qiu's words made him extremely uncomfortable. But he knew at this time all the explanations were powerless, and no one would believe him. Wealthy martial artists would often use star rocks to train their true power. Star rocks contained rich and pure energy. After absorbing it, it could quickly transform into true power, greatly reducing the time needed to meditate. In this way, he could start training rank 3 mental cultivation techniques. Tang Tian was extremely engrossed in his training. He spent 5 years, and finally could train rank 2 martial techniques. The accumulated energy in his heart could practically explode the world. Haha. Rank 3, I want to train rank 3 mental cultivation techniques. Swoosh, he changed his position again, calmly waving his hand, with a deep look of praise. Young lad, for you to have such an idea, very good, you have a future. His face was shining, his eyes widened, he clenched his fist, smashing heavily into the air. His expression was extremely serious. With a straight face, he shouted to the empty space in front of him, "Hey, young lad, you really are a godlike man." Finished, without a trace of reluctance, he turned and left. Third from the bottom. For mother. Gasping for breath, perspiration flowed freely, the feeling of exhaustion engulfed his entire body. Tang Tian leaned on his knees, his eyes bloodshot. He stared at the ground, his wooden pupils slowly regaining their focus. The power of rank 3 true power, compared to rank 2, was much stronger and more vigorous. Every time this happened, the number on the back of the light door would jump. Tang Tian's technique was still very inexperienced. Basically, out of 10 punches, only one would appear as a flash fist. The news of a Maori transferring to Caramel Academy spread like the wind throughout Star Wind City. Caramel Academy, what was that? Before today, no one had ever heard of this school, but when they found out about Caramel Academy's ranking, they were all dumbstruck. If they were stingy with their sweat, then would their dreams still be dreams? I want to go to Heaven's Road. Hearing that, everyone looked at a Maori. Their gazes were filled with mockery and sympathy, as though they were looking at a person who overestimated his capabilities and whose brain was fried. He turned and left the principal's office. A Maori, you want to transfer? The principal's face was filled with disbelief, to the point that he was stunned for a moment. He really could not understand, no matter how he looked at it, a Maori had no reason to transfer. But the price of the star rocks meant that it was not something that ordinary people could use. Second-level great perfection. Suddenly, Tang Tian's body trembled, his face unable to contain his happiness. What made a Maori feel pressured was not only Liang Qiu's powerful strength, but also because Liang Qiu had always taken care of him, giving him many pointers. Great perfection. God, what kind of rotten school is this? Walking along the corridor, a stern voice came from behind a Maori. A Maori did not put Tian Lin in his eyes, but the tall young man in front of him gave him a huge pressure. The second-tier Dantian pool was already filled with true power, but Tang Tian noticed his Dantian did not have any signs of swelling. His heart moved and continued to instigate his mental cultivation method to absorb energy. Threads of true power flowed along his meridians into his lower Dantian and then flowed towards the second-tier Dantian pool. Of course, this was just a rumor. No one had ever trained true power to the upper Dantian, just like no one had ever reached the end of Heaven's Road. No wonder Tang Tian was pleasantly surprised. In his estimation, he still needed a period of time to train the secrets of cultivating qi to the great perfection realm. He did not expect it to be earlier than he expected. Such a strange thing. In Star Wind City, where there were many academies, it was the first time, and immediately caused a stir among the academies. He pulled out a smile, although it was weak, but it was as bright as the sun. That invisible barrier was called the Wall of Perfection. Behind the barrier was the third-tier Dantian pool. Touching the Wall of Perfection meant that his true power had been trained to the Great Perfection realm. Beast Academy was Star Wind City's third-largest academy. The resources they had were far from what the pitiful Caramel Academy could compare to. A Maori was a genius that he looked highly upon. He was able to fight his way into the top 10 in the second year. This kind of talent was rarely seen. At the same time, the two of them transferred to the third worst rotten school, Caramel Academy. I will not regret it. Amauri replied seriously. His punches were not smooth, and he could only succeed once in 10 punches. These difficulties were nothing to him. Compared to the 5 years of training the fundamental martial techniques, what were these difficulties? At this time, he needed a higher-level mental cultivation method to break through the wall of perfection and open the third-tier Dantian pool. Rotten people. Rotten school. Those goals, those ambitions were no longer like the stars in the sky, unreachable. Liang Qiu, Beast Academy's #1 expert. After the self-directed performance, Tang Tian's face was full of satisfaction as he continued with his training. Amauri shook his head. It's not because of that, I did not suffer any grievances, but I want to find my own martial path. He, Amauri, will definitely create his own martial path. After a while, he finally stopped. Tang Tian's face was full of joy. True power was the foundation. Without true power, martial techniques were just flowery fists without substance. Powerful martial techniques had high requirements for true power. Even for the disciples of the big families, most of their time was spent on training their true power. He sat cross-legged, closed his eyes, and just like before, revolved the secrets of cultivating qi. The energy behind the cross door was extremely rich, and the effect of activating the mental cultivation method was exceptionally good. Tang Tian could clearly feel the little bits of energy as he revolved the secrets of cultivating qi, like moths flying into a flame, quickly converging towards him. Amauri clenched his fists, but immediately released them. He raised his head, and without showing any weakness, looked straight at Liang Qiu and shouted loudly, "Big brother Liang Qiu, wait to be defeated by me." In everyone's eyes, Amauri was destroying his own future, and after hearing Amauri's declaration of challenge, they felt that Amauri had completely gone crazy. Occasionally, after a few punches, the fists would suddenly disappear. Legend has it that if one trained to a very high level, true power would flow through the Dantian pool, layer by layer, and arrive at the upper Dantian between the eyebrows, and then one would be able to live forever. The time that a bronze card spirit general possessed the body was too short, and the body was unable to remember all those experiences. Because of that, the price of a silver card was much more expensive than a bronze card. He felt that his entire body had an endless amount of energy, and his condition was unprecedentedly good. He liked this kind of life, where he could speak out the goals in his heart, and he could sweat to his heart's content under the sun. If he was not proficient, he would train more. If the comprehension of the bronze card was not deep enough, then he would have to ponder and comprehend it himself. Only Liang Qiu looked at Amauri's back, deep in thought. You want to defeat Big Brother Liang Qiu, huh? Tian Lin's maniacal laughter could be heard from far away. Amauri, you want to transfer schools? To the same school as that ultimate retainer? The wind from the fists was incessant, and Tang Tian's expression was focused, continuously waving his fists. His entire body was long drenched, and beads of perspiration flowed down his cheeks, to his chin, and dripped onto the black stone floor beneath his feet. He felt the true power in his dantian, as though it had bumped into an invisible wall. For Jie. Chapter 11. The great clan elder's tone was solemn and low. No one dared to make a sound. But as time passed, this kind of high-intensity training put a greater and greater burden on the body. The fatigue was getting harder and harder to recover from, the time needed to revolve true power was getting longer and longer, and the tiredness and pain from training was also increasing. Just sleep like this. It would be so satisfying to sleep at this moment. After an unknown period of time, in a daze, Tang Tian felt the world spin around him. His heart relaxed, and a smile appeared on his exhausted face. Let this fellow live for a few more days. How can we give up on something that we've agreed on? Peng, there's something I need to tell you, Patriarch Zhou said in a deep voice. His sweat formed a puddle of water under his body, and the rock slab that was as smooth as a mirror reflected his stubborn figure. He glared fiercely at the cold, mirror-like ground with bloodshot eyes. A low, hoarse roar was squeezed out from between his teeth. When the last of his strength was exhausted, Tang Tian fell to the ground with a thud, sprawling on the ground like a pile of mud. The patriarch immediately broke out in a cold sweat, his face ashen. He relied on his position as the patriarch of the clan, and through many years of hard work, he managed to get the various elders to help Zhou Peng become the future successor. Now that the great clan elder had brought up this matter, it was clear that he was questioning Peng Heir's qualifications as the successor. However, he had no way of opposing it. There seemed to be a voice in his mind that was full of temptation. Hold on a little longer. Just hold on a little longer. 30,000. Only the sound of fists piercing through the air did not stop. The 10th day. The last time he was beaten up by Tang Tian, even though his father had chased Tang Tian out of Andrew Academy, Zhou Peng had never given up on the thought of revenge. Our Zhou clan has been established in Wu and Star for over 400 years. It wasn't easy for our ancestors to establish this foundation. Not only are we unable to protect it, but we've also shamed our ancestors. I've been unable to sleep these past few days. I won. Zhou Mu was his father's #1 bodyguard. He was usually slow and quiet, but his strength was unfathomable. What made Zhou Peng even more afraid was that Zhou Mu did not care about his feelings at all. As long as it was something his father gave him, he would definitely complete it 100%. I want to cultivate. I want to cultivate. I want to cultivate. I want to go to the immortal constellation. I'm going to find Xie. We're going to Heaven's Road. He could only say in a low voice, Peng Er is still young and insensible. It's inevitable that he will act rashly. But his aptitude is good. Go to sleep. You've done well enough. Sleep is what you should do. The coldness of the black rock floor made him feel a bit more clear-headed. However, he did not even have the strength to move a finger. It was as if his body did not belong to him. Tang Tian's consciousness became a little blurry. He could no longer see the red numbers and time clearly. At this moment, his instincts were supporting him, and his fists were full of wind. There are so many things I want to do. How can I give up like this, impudent? Patriarch Zhou's expression was stern. Looks like I have indeed neglected to discipline you these few years. From today onwards, you will learn from Zhou Mu. Since young, he had never been so humiliated in front of so many people. In addition to the long period of concentration, his mental state was severely depleted. Tang Tian felt as if his brain was about to split open. There was a dull pain inside. It was as if there was a demon hiding in his brain. It kept on talking. I will never give up. Oh, is that so? The great clan elder's face was cold. Since his aptitude is good, then true gold does not fear fire. In a month's time, he will personally settle this matter. The Zhou family's reputation was lost by him. He has to earn it back. As a successor, if he does not even have this awareness, how can he be a successor? It doesn't matter who the next patriarch is. What's important is that the position of the Zhou family's patriarch cannot be handed over to a useless person. Tang Tian forced his eyelids open. He wanted to climb up, but his entire body was limp. He could not even move his fingers. The clan meeting this time was personally convened by the great clan elder. A godlike man, how can he admit defeat? Zhou Peng's face froze. Has the great clan elder gone senile? A cold light flashed in Patriarch Zhou's eyes. The main culprit of this matter was this guy. If it wasn't for the great clan elder who specifically wanted Peng Er to personally kill Tang Tian, he would have sent people to kill Tang Tian right now. After Peng Er was done, he would find someone to quietly kill this guy. The great clan elder is right. At this time, he should have sat up and revolved his mental cultivation. But no matter how hard he tried, he could not sit up. Zhou Peng then saw the guy beside his father who did not seem to have any presence. Behind the light door, there was nothing but a row of red numbers. But in the face of such crazy and high-intensity training, even someone as strong as Tang Tian felt like he could not bear it for the first time. Patriarch Zhou shook his head. The great clan elders said that you should settle it yourself. You cannot let others help you. The great clan elder did not even look at him. He coldly snorted. It's your fault for not disciplining him. I really did not expect that the dignified Zhou family's patriarch's son would be almost killed by a trash student. If this old man did not remember wrongly, Zhou Peng is the next patriarch's candidate. Tang Tian, that's right. Father, I finally found out where Tang Tian went. This guy ran to Caramel Academy. Ha, the third worst school. Zhou Peng excitedly said. I searched for a long time, but there was no news. If not for a Maori transferring schools, I really would not have found him. Speak with strength. The scarlet red numbers jumped quickly. His physical strength was completely exhausted. He cultivated the cultivating chi technique. After his physical strength recovered, he once again threw himself into another round of training. Like this, Tang Tian did not waste a single bit of time. This was the last sentence he remembered. No, I don't want to sleep. I want to train. Tang Tian shouted in his heart. It was like he was talking to himself, but also like he was talking to the devil in his heart. The great clan elder's expression softened. We have all seen your hard work these years. But no matter what, you must remember, the Zhou family's name cannot be shamed. You are still young. Give birth to a few more sons and the family will prosper. Never give up. Tangtian. Zhou family hall. Many clan elders gathered. The patriarch bowed his head. His roar was filled with stubbornness and unwillingness. Punch, punch, punch. Actually, these few days, he had already heard many rumors and was a little worried. He did not expect his worries to become reality. All the clan elders agreed. Patriarch Zhou's eyes flashed with reluctance, but he still held it in. Tangtian. In low-level martial arts, physical strength was the foundation of everything. For the past 5 years, he trained extremely hard every day. The amount of training he did was far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. This trained him to a shocking level of endurance. In terms of strength, he was not as strong as a Maori. But in terms of physical strength, he was not inferior to a Maori. Zhou Mu, I will give Peng'er to you. I don't care what methods you use. 1 month later, I want him to step into the 3rd level. Patriarch Zhou said in a deep voice. Whatever you need, just go and get it. Never give up. Tang Tian, you are already so much later than others. Every year there would be people disappearing from Star Wind City. Who would care? His strong physical strength guaranteed him an astonishing amount of training. As time passed, Tang Tian's shouts turned from high-pitched to low and hoarse. Tiredness surged like a tide. His eyelids became heavier and heavier. Zhou Peng then noticed that his father's expression was not right. He was surprised. Did something happen? His blood-curdling screams came to an abrupt end. Zhou Mu had knocked him unconscious and carried him outside. Tang Tian heard his own rapid heartbeat, heard his own coarse breathing. The great clan elder's tone was cold and firm. That's great. I have not used the Golden Dragon Rod Spirit card that Uncle Pan gave me previously. A 3rd-level silver-ranked Spirit General will definitely beat Tang Tian up like a dog. Zhou Peng was excited. Tang Tian, this matter, you have to settle it yourself. He was like an enraged lion, his body trembling incessantly, his eyes like a blazing sea of fire. Tang Tian, you will soon know how powerful I am. The patriarch knew that he had no way out. He clenched his teeth. Great clan elder is right. If he is useless, I will take it that I never had a son. Killing intent surfaced on Patriarch Zhou's face. The hardship training was too crazy. Although he had true power to constantly repair his body, and although he would not feel hungry in this strange space, the exhaustion of his mental state was equally shocking. Zhou Mu replied woodenly. Amidst the roars of anger, a surge of energy came from nowhere. Tang Tian slowly propped himself up. His eyes were wide open. His expression was sinister. Every vein on his forehead was bulging. It was as though something exploded in Tang Tian's heart. The intense anger was like lava. In a moment, it ignited every corner of his body. Zhou Peng almost fainted. He wailed. Father, don't. It's all my fault. It's my fault for not disciplining him properly. The patriarch apologized. Patriarch Zhou's face was gloomy as he watched Zhou Peng burst into the house. The impact of this matter was too terrible. The entire Star Wind City knew that Tang Tian was a super retainer. Zhou Peng actually lost to Tang Tian. It was too shameful. This matter has really affected our Zhou clan too badly. The one who spoke was an old man with white hair. Although he was old, he leaned on a dragon head walking stick. His gaze was clear. He was not angry. He was the most prestigious elder in the Zhou family. Even the patriarch of the Zhou family had to address him as the great clan elder. You no longer have the strength to train. Go to sleep. After you sleep, you can still train. You have already tried your best. You have already trained enough. Don't force yourself. Why do you have to force yourself so hard? Go to sleep. It's very satisfying and sweet. The patriarch felt as though he was sitting on pins and needles. He was perspiring profusely. If the elders present objected, his position as the patriarch would immediately be taken away. With the prestige of the great clan elder, if he were to suggest removing the patriarch position, half of the elders present would follow. Thinking about that day when Tang Tian was strangling him by the neck, and that arrogant look in his eyes, Zhou Peng's fists clenched tightly. His body kept trembling, but he sat up bit by bit. Chapter 12. At this time, a Maori who was standing on a rock not far away from the stream raised his right arm and roared at him excitedly, "Fundamental Tang! Sleeping at such a good time is unforgivable. Come, let's have a serious fight. In the name of a martial artist." Tang Tian's fist once again disappeared in the air. He was exhausted. Such a good person. So satisfying. But this did not mean that Tang Tian could be compared to brother Liang Qiu. This pervert, a Maori who was filled with fighting spirits, secretly clenched his fist. Like a gust of wind, he swept past the school name tag and rushed into the school's practice grounds. On a sunny morning like this, what could make one's blood boil more than a real battle? 10 days of training without sleep or rest. Even if he was behind the cross door, he did not need to eat and recovered quickly. But the dry and tedious training, even Tang Tian, who was an Iron Man, wanted to vomit. So comfortable, a Maori was not affected too much. Not only did he not feel any pressure from challenging brother Liang Qiu, but it made him feel like his body was filled with endless energy. But when he rushed into the practice grounds, he was dumbfounded. He retracted his fist back to his waist, waiting for a chance to counterattack. Tang Tian would be affected by the seismic waves, and would temporarily lose his balance. The degree of loss of balance was very small, but a Maori was very skilled in this move and could quickly find the flaw. But Tang Tian's reaction speed was too abnormal, and this flaw would disappear even faster. A Maori needed to be 120% focused and wait to give Tang Tian a fatal blow. Suddenly, a Maori's pupils shrunk. But his martial technique was extremely solid, so he simply gave up on the aggressive brute horn fist and used a defensive martial technique, middle gate 12 dispersing hands, to defend himself. But, fuck, it has only been one night. Tang Tian could vaguely see a huge man with a kind face. He shook his hammock. "I will definitely defeat you." At this time, Fundamental Tang must be training hard. Big brother Liang Qiu was the undisputed #1 expert in the entire Beast Academy. Even in the Star Wind City where there were many academies, Big brother Liang Qiu could definitely fight his way into the top 3. In a Maori's heart, brother Liang Qiu had always been a goal that he hoped to surpass. As if sensing a Maori's subtle emotional fluctuations, Tang Tian's gaze suddenly sharpened. Tang Tian, who was sleeping soundly, was currently filled with raging flames, but he did not know if it was because of the ice-cold stream water, but his mind was empty at the moment. Under the sunlight, Tang Tian was lying on a rock by the stream, sleeping soundly without a care for his image. He was sleeping soundly, and a silver line could be seen at the corner of his mouth, dripping onto the rocks. He took a big stride forward and punched with his right fist. Such a dangerous aura. A Maori quickly used his hand to block, wanting to block Tang Tian's punch. As if he had slept for a long time, he suddenly felt thirsty and drowsily moved to the stream to drink a few mouthfuls of water. Feeling warm, he simply laid on the rock and continued to sleep. At the same time, Amauri's heart cried out in alarm. After fighting with Tang Tian so many times, he had a good understanding of Tang Tian's style. When fighting with Tang Tian, he must be alert and must not be careless. If he was slightly careless, once he fell into a passive position, what followed would be a torrential storm of attacks. Amauri sprinted all the way back to Caramel Academy. Tang Tian was chased out of the school and did not need to go through any procedures, but Amauri had to go back to the school to go through the procedures. In the stream, Tang Tian subconsciously struggled. His face was blank. He still did not know what was going on. Amauri's heartstrings could not help but ripple. Tang Tian's fist suddenly disappeared in the air, and in the next moment, the fist appeared less than a foot away from his cheek. Fundamental Tang. Fundamental Tang. Amauri's pupils constricted, his elbows suddenly flipped, his fist turned into a palm, and slapped towards Tang Tian's fist. Who? Amauri's eyes lit up, staring at Tang Tian. He was filled with anticipation for Tang Tian. Amauri was instantly petrified, but in the blink of an eye, he was enraged. Striding forward, he grabbed Tang Tian's collar and single-handedly lifted Tang Tian up. If Tang Tian was able to reach Big Brother Liang Qiu's level in 2 years, Amauri would not be surprised. Rhythmic snoring sounds, one after another. Earthquake wave, one of the most commonly used techniques among the Earth attribute martial techniques. Using the Earth attribute true power, it was injected into the ground, causing small tremors. Amauri squinted his eyes, his heart secretly trembling. Fist after fist, each fist faster than the last. But Tang Tian's attacks were completely out of Amauri's expectations. It was as though he did not realize that the earthquake wave was about to sweep past his position, and he was blindly attacking. The shadows of the fists flashed. Amauri's thunderous voice caused the birds in the forest to fly up in fright. At this time, Fundamental Tang must be seriously training. He is a godlike man. I have never seen a man like Fundamental Tang who is so hardworking, so persevering, so persistent. Amauri did not look down on Tang Tian. He was very clear that Tang Tian was a pervert and could not be measured with common sense. Tang Tian's body actually had the same qi as Big Brother Liang Qiu. Tang Tian, who was sleeping soundly, smacked his lips, exposing a silly smile. Tang Tian climbed out from the stream, his entire body wet. The cold stream water flowed down his pants, leaving a watermark with every step. He expressionlessly walked towards Amauri. The ground actually had ripples like water, spreading out in all directions. What's going on? What's going on? Amauri quickly realized Tang Tian was like a noodle in his hands. No matter how he shook him left and right, Tang Tian did not have any signs of waking up. Amauri's face was as black as a pot. He looked left and right, and when his gaze swept past the stream, his eyes suddenly lit up. He roared towards the sky. Fundamental Tang, wake up! Only to see Amauri squatting down, a pair of hands dancing in the sky, like an 8-legged spider, firmly guarding the entrance. Just at that moment, Amauri's gaze suddenly met Tang Tian's. He could not help but be startled. The cold gaze emitted a heart-palpitating aura. Amauri felt as though he was suddenly being stared at by an extremely terrifying beast. As expected, Tang Tian's footsteps were like an arrow. His long-prepared right fist once again punched towards Amauri. He could not remember how he got out. Tang Tian was like a dead fish in Amauri's hands. His entire body drooped, allowing him to do whatever he wanted. His snoring did not stop. He had only ever felt such a dangerous aura from one person, and that was the idol that he swore to defeat, Liang Qiu. Almost at the same time, a blurry shadow of a fist drilled out from the air in front of him without any warning, bringing with it the sound of the wind. It roared towards him. Amauri did not expect Tang Tian to be so irrational, to actually not care about strategy, and just blindly attack. Tang Tian's fundamental fist technique's fist speed was already impressive, and the current flash fist was even faster, hard to comprehend. In that moment, Amauri even felt tired of dealing with it. Amauri's heart shivered, his eyes squinted, his eyes flashing with surprise and excitement. He did not know why, but he felt an indescribable excitement, This indescribable excitement even made him tremble slightly. Continue to sleep. Sleep until the end of the world. I cannot fall behind. A Maori flew into a rage. Fundamental Tang, how can you waste your time? How can you waste your time on shameful sleeping? Fundamental Tang, you are a man that wants to create a brand new martial path. Tang Tian's fist speed was extremely fast. When he was half a foot away from a Maori, he stopped. A Maori roared. While holding onto Tang Tian's fist, he shook it fiercely. Housefly cow, you're courting death. Barbaric horn fist. S moves were simple, wide open and wide, but with the power of 1,000 caddies, it was best to meet force with force. The earth was the best medium for earth-attributed true power. As long as the opponent was within the range of the undulations, his movements would be greatly affected. Big brother Liang Qiu, I will definitely create my own martial path. After 10 days of crazy bitter training, he did not even think, and immediately displayed the starting stance of the flash fist. Fists and palms intersected, overflowing with energy. Tang Tian's mind was completely blank. He was awoken by the cold water, and before he could even sober up, he was engulfed by anger. What was controlling him now was the instinct formed from 10 days of bitter training. Fundamental Tang, you disappoint me too much. Such a good time, and you're actually sleeping. You're actually sleeping. How can you sleep? Fundamental Tang, you're finally starting. A Maori, who was in high spirits, rushed madly to Caramel Academy. When Tang Tian's figure moved, a Maori regained his senses, and without showing any signs of weakness, he threw a punch forward. Although he mainly trained in blade techniques, but a Maori's fist techniques were not weak either. Especially after sparring with Tang Tian using the fundamental fist techniques many times, his fist techniques had also improved by leaps and bounds, adding the innate godly strength. The rank 2 barbaric horn fist in his hands had astonishing power. A Maori's vision was filled with the shadows of fists, flashing and flashing, like a torrential downpour, enveloping him from all directions. A Maori roared like thunder, spitting saliva onto Tang Tian's face like rain. Not right. A Maori's eyes suddenly widened. A Maori's momentum was like a galloping bull. His fists were like horns, welcoming Tang Tian's fists, and heavily punched out. Flash fist. Tang Tian opened his sleepy eyes, recognizing the blurred figure in his vision. His eyelids closed, and he mumbled, "Let the nest shatter a little more." Although the sun had risen for quite some time, the temperature of the stream was still bone-chilling. Tang Tian, who fell into the stream, quivered. The bone-chilling coldness instantly woke him up from his dreams. A Maori was stunned, and for a short period of time, a strong sense of danger once again enveloped him. With a quiver, he awoke, and with a deep grunt, his right leg fiercely stomped on the ground. A Maori had never underestimated Tang Tian's potential. A person who could persist for 5 years in the fundamental martial techniques, in his heart, was a true expert. This was also the most important reason why he was willing to follow Tang Tian to Caramel Academy. So fast. There was no one in the practice grounds, only 1 or 2 little birds. As he finished, he raised Tang Tian high up in the air and threw him into the stream. Tang Tian, who was in a daze, finally regained his senses. His eyebrows furrowed, and his face was as black as the black clouds from all directions. His twitching lips quickly overflowed with uncontrollable rage. He gritted his teeth, and every word seemed to be squeezed out from between his teeth. Tang Tian's snores became louder, and the silly smile on his face was filled with satisfaction. A Maori's heart jumped, and he immediately tilted his head, narrowly dodging Tang Tian's flash fist. It was not a fundamental fist technique. Chapter 13. Liang Qiu did not wish for a Maori to completely fall into depravity, so he called Wang Lin and quietly followed a Maori to find out what was going on. However, what appeared in front of Old Fart Way was that a Maori was completely suppressed. Not right. The strength of the fist was not right. A Maori's eyes suddenly widened, only to see Tang Tian borrowing this force. Both his legs were slightly suspended in the air. as the distance from the ground was so small that it was hard to detect. If not for a Maori's attentiveness, he would definitely not be able to detect it. This year, Caramel Academy's accumulated points are 0. Other than the capital examination, they still have to participate in the Star Wind Martial Meet. Furthermore, they also need to have a good ranking so that they can obtain enough points. Liang Qiu hit the nail on the head. Both of their physiques were about the same, but in terms of attainments in martial techniques, a Maori was obviously a notch higher. Tang Tian was in a state of bedevilment, and his strength had increased exponentially. According to common sense, the two of them should be evenly matched. When the fist and palm met, there was actually a sticky force. But Wang Zhen's flash fist and Tang Tian's flash fist were completely different. In comparison, Tang Tian's innate talent was much worse. The only commendable point was that Tang Tian's foundation was very solid. After several failed attacks, the anger in Tang Tian's heart became more and more intense. His eyes had completely turned into a flame-like red. His mouth kept on releasing angry roars, and the rhythm of his fists kept on increasing. Wang Zhen's flash fist was even more ferocious. When it disappeared in the air, there would be a shockwave, and the air would be filled with ripples. Tang Tian did not have such a shockwave. His fists were even faster and were even more elusive. You completely did not know where Tang Tian's fists would come from. A Maori was completely suppressed. His 12 dispersing techniques were completely suppressed. Then, on a Maori's face, there was a strange radiance. You will have a chance. Liang Qiu glanced at Wang Zhen. Caramel Academy doesn't have enough points. A Maori had lost count of how many times Tang Tian had thrown out punches. However, up until now, Tang Tian's punches were all flash fists, and none of them had failed. This was because the Beast Academy had an expert who was proficient in the flash fist technique, Wang Zhen, who was ranked 3rd in the Beast Academy. He specialized in fist techniques, and when he was at the 2nd rank, he specialized in the flash fist technique. Fundamental Tang, you are always so unexpected. Wang Zhen smiled. Interesting. Not enough points? Tang Tian, who was full of murderous intent just a moment ago, sat on the ground with a satisfied expression. He rubbed his protruding belly and said with an intoxicated expression, "So good, so delicious." Old man, I couldn't tell that your skills are not bad. In the future, the task of saving the stomach will be handed over to you. Tang Tian turned his head. Unknowingly, there was a bonfire behind him, and old Fartway was leisurely roasting the meat. Suddenly, Wang Zhen thought of a question. If Caramel Academy is too bad, how do you plan to persuade a Maori to turn back? Without saying a word, Tang Tian threw a Maori aside and shouted as he rushed towards old Fartway, "Leave some for me, I want it. I want it." A Maori's face was sluggish as he stood rooted to the ground. Everything happened too suddenly, so suddenly that he was at a loss. A Maori's pair of big hands waved continuously, firmly guarding the door. To actually use such a method to avoid the earthquake, as expected of Fundamental Tang. Although he had been restraining himself, and did not use any rank 3 martial techniques, although Tang Tian was in a berserk state, but a Maori was completely suppressed, and this made old Fartway surprised. Old Fartway watched with rapt attention. A Maori was not much better than Tang Tian. His huge jade body laid out horizontally, revealing a fierce leg hair. He picked his teeth. Old Fart, were you a chef in the past? But did he really have to use a rank 3 martial technique? Fundamental Tang, I will not lose to you. Both of them froze. To be able to step on heaven's road, he was not an ordinary person. Just at this time, there was a sudden strong smell of roasted meat. Not bad, flash fist. Liang Qiu's eyes flashed a trace of surprise, but his expression was still indifferent. This Tang Tian is not as weak as the rumors say. Although a Maori did not use a rank 3 martial technique, but both of them used rank 2 martial techniques. To be able to suppress a Maori, his strength is not bad. He was Wang Zhen. Wang Zhen was stunned, but immediately smiled. He felt that Liang Qiu was definitely capable of doing such a thing. More importantly, the power that came from Tang Tian's fist was not right. Tang Tian's nose twitched twice, and his stomach immediately growled. The red in his eyes quickly faded, and a strong sense of hunger overwhelmed him, instantly draining his energy. Although he did not feel hungry behind the cross door, but the physiological inertia still existed. The feeling of not eating for 10 days was immediately ignited by the smell of roasted meat. Star Wind City's ranking system was based on points. All kinds of facilities and results would be converted into points, and the final points would directly affect the treatment, qualifications, and so on. If the outside world knew that Liang Qiu actually praised Tang Tian as not bad, they would think that they had heard wrongly. If Wang Zhen saw Fundamental Tang's flash fist, what kind of scene would it be? You mean? Wang Zhen was surprised, but he knew that Liang Qiu had always been meticulous. Since he said that, then it must be true. Let's go, we'll let him go this time. Liang Qiu turned without hesitation. During the spirit meet, let's see if he has any improvements. Martial artists who trained in Flash Fist were not able to use Flash Fist in every punch. Being able to use 8 out of 10 punches made one an expert. Beast Academy's current highest record was set by Wang Zhen. Wang Zhen had once continuously used 100 punches and used 83 Flash Fist punches. This astonishing record caused a sensation in Star Wind City, and from then on, Wang Zhen became the publicly acknowledged #1 Flash Fist person in Star Wind City Academy. Heaven's Road? Tang Tian was startled, and subconsciously sat up. This kind of Flash Fist, Wang Zhen was full of interest to try it out. You don't have to worry about a Maori anymore. I feel that although Little Ah is not very reliable at times, but he is a person with his own mind. Wang Zhen chuckled. He unconsciously loosened his clenched fists, but his gaze never left Tang Tian. Not only was a Maori not discouraged, but he was even more excited. But the Tang Tian in front of him completely overturned the impression he had of Tang Tian in his heart. A Maori only felt the pressure increasing, and he was in a sorry state. The range of the middle door 12 dispersing hands was constantly shrinking. There is no one else like Wuxia Xianxia, who truly has absolute power. But Tang Tian's Flash Fist is making me itch to try it out. Comparing the two Flash Fists, a Maori was surprised to find that he was actually unable to judge whose Flash Fist was stronger. He is possessed, Liang Qiu said. Look at his eyes. Furthermore, the Flash Fist spirit card, he had only given it to Tang Tian for a few days. Yes, I have checked the points of Caramel Academy. If they want to retain their qualifications, just based on the results of the capital examination, the points are not enough. Liang Qiu said calmly. In front of his eyes, countless of fist shadows drilled out from the sky without any warning, like a raging storm raining down on his face. Old Fartway said with a pleased face, "You guys are still young. As a senior in Heaven's Road, I want to tell you guys, if you guys want to go to Heaven's Road, then you have to first train up your culinary skills." Yes, the rumors are not true. For a person like Wuxia Xianxia to be able to fancy someone like him, he must have something special about him. Liang Qiu said indifferently, "It's a pity, when Wuxia Xianxia was around, my strength was still too weak, and I was unable to spar with him. It's a pity." Old Fartway's eyes flashed. The possessed Tang Tian was exceptionally ferocious, and completely suppressed a Maori. It was like a life and death battle, completely unreasonable, like a torrential storm of attacks. Even though a Maori was on the defensive, he was still in danger. He looked at the figure pouncing and shouting at the same time, and clenched his fists tightly. Just as Liang Qiu and Wang Zhen disappeared, Old Fartway, who was sleeping on the bed, opened his eyes and glanced at the direction where Liang Qiu and Wang Zhen disappeared. His wrinkled face did not show any joy or anger, but he seemed to be deep in thought. "Hit him until he turns back," Liang Qiu said coldly. After a while, the blankness in his eyes dissipated. On a treetop about 40 feet away from the training grounds, two figures stood quietly. One of them was impressively Liang Qiu. Beside him stood a man dressed in a gray martial outfit. The man looked simple and honest, with a pair of thick calluses on his hands. He stared fixedly at the two people fighting. Tang Tian and Amauri were in awe. Wuxian Star was an outer planet. Although it was known as the birthplace of humanity, but after tens of thousands of years of development, Wuxian Star had become a truly remote wilderness. Hey, old fart, what exactly is Heaven's Road like? Tang Tian asked curiously. Noticing that Tang Tian was looking at him, old fart Wei raised his right hand and greeted, "Aha, you guys continue. The so-called bedevilment refers to a person entering an explosive state due to certain stimuli. Once bedevilment occurs, a person's potential will suddenly explode. At this time, the martial artist's strength will increase exponentially, becoming abnormally strong. Its aura. Amauri had long recognized that Tang Tian was using the flash fist technique. The characteristics of the flash fist technique were very unique and easy to identify. Among the rank 2 martial techniques, flash fist technique was not considered unorthodox. Although there were not many martial artists who trained in fist techniques, it was not a popular martial technique. But Amauri was not unfamiliar with it at all. Amauri kept his satisfied expression and sat up straight. Old fart, you've been to Heaven's Road before? Wang Zhen's attainment in the flash fist technique was extremely profound, and Amauri had personally experienced it. Half an hour later. Furthermore, Tang Tian's attack frequency was even faster, like a torrential downpour, pressuring people to the point of suffocation. Bedevilment? Old fart Wei muttered to himself. Wang Zhen turned his head to look at Tang Tian, his eyes flashing a hint of passion. He turned around and followed Liang Qiu, disappearing. When I was young, I wandered around for a few years. Old fart Wei laughed. Even if he did not bedevilment, his flash fist technique was executed beautifully. And look, his footwork and the rhythm of his attacks are all outstanding. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't dare to believe that a retainer would have such strength. Wang Zhen was slightly moved. His gaze landed on the two people who were fighting, and his eyes flashed a hint of surprise. Amauri clenched his teeth and held on. But if he were to use a rank 3 martial technique, wouldn't that mean that he had lost? Old fart Wei had always looked at Amauri in a different light. Those students who were more famous than Amauri, in his eyes, were only older than Amauri and had trained for a longer period of time. The first time old fart Wei met Amauri was a few years ago, and Amauri was the most talented martial artist he had ever seen. Amauri's body condition was very astonishing, and his understanding of martial techniques was also very shocking. His state of mind was pure in the morning, and he was able to endure hardships. This was why Amauri was able to become a famous expert in Beast Academy at such a young age. He had been observing Amauri in the dark for a few years, and he was very clear about Amauri's body condition. This was the first time he saw someone whose body condition was not inferior to Amauri's. Chapter 14. Old Fartway reacted and laughed out loud. You have ambition, but even a qualified close-quarters combat expert would need to suffer a bit. Close-quarters combat. Old Fartway spat out 4 words. Close-quarters combat requires a balanced physique, an extremely strong reaction speed, a ferocious aura, and a fearless heart. The requirements for fundamental martial techniques are especially high. How about it? Young lad, isn't it interesting? Close-quarters combat expert, what a cool name. Tang Tian listened attentively and hurriedly asked, what's suitable? You need to strengthen your own reaction speed so that in a shorter time, you can attack more accurately. Ambitious. I like ambitious young lads. Old Fartway said, let's talk about your path of development. Your physique is outstanding, your foundation is good, your reaction speed is fast, your aura is strong, and you are fierce and domineering. These are all your strengths. Do you know what's suitable? Old Fartway saw that his move was ineffective and clenched his teeth. Speak, what are your conditions? The two of them did not move and looked at Old Fartway. Crackle crackle, Amauri talked for 3 minutes and then stopped. It's too expensive. Tang Tian raised his head and said calmly, such an expensive thing, I can't accept it. Done. Tang Tian said with satisfaction. A ray of light flashed in old Fartway's eyes. Hee hee, let's go back to mental cultivation. Since you chose to be a close-quarters combat expert, I have a very powerful mental cultivation spirit card here. But this mental cultivation is not easy to train. What's this for? Old Fartway was confused. It's very hard to learn. Old Fartway reminded, spending so much time on fundamental martial techniques, to be honest, you've already missed the golden period. Old Fartway's expression congealed. For a person, the golden 5 years are between the ages of 12 to 17. And for these 5 years, you've spent them all on fundamental martial techniques. Many people might think that you're wasting your time, but I feel that there are pros and cons. Tang Tian did not utter a word, but looked at old Fartway strangely. Tang Tian, all right? Tang Tian nodded and raised his palm. A Maori was surprised. Fundamental Tang, you also saw through his plot? A Maori and Tang Tian looked at each other and had a bad feeling. That makes sense. I have to practice all of them. That's it. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. There's no need to deny it, old man. Since you're our principal, well, we can talk about anything. Tang Tian had a you-know-what-I-mean expression on his face. Contrary to old Fartway and a Maori's expectations, Tang Tian shook his head and pushed the spirit card back. I don't want it. A Maori also perked up and pricked up his ears. Old Fartway said, as long as you can do all these, you can become a qualified, or even an outstanding close-quarters combat expert. Without any benefits, Tang Tian and a Maori were a little listless. Old Fartway suddenly felt some pressure and coughed lightly. About that, 2 days ago, I just checked on our school's accumulated points, and the result was that we don't have enough points. You guys know, if the school's accumulated points are not enough, they will be disqualified. Oh, it's almost time for the Star Wind Martial Meet. As long as you guys participate in the Star Wind Martial Meet and get good results, the school's accumulated points will be more or less enough. As the school's geniuses, you guys can't just watch the school fall like this, right? Pa, Tang Tian snatched the spirit card and said seriously, I know you're good to me, old man. I will definitely become a close-quarters combat expert. No matter what, I will give it my all. Tell me, what's the matter? Housefly cow, you come. Tang Tian waved his hand like a boss. Old Fartway smiled. Are you done? Ancient spirit card? Very powerful. Old Fartway nodded. Will Chia like it too? Tang Tian's eyes lit up. Rank 3 mental cultivation method? What suggestions do you have? Tang Tian asked casually. Tang Tian nodded without a hint of modesty. Old man, you have a good eye. Spittle flew everywhere, unceasingly. Old Fartway waved his hand, with a face of rascal. I forgot to mention just now, I've already helped you guys register. Old Fartway, that's right. Tang Tian's face was full of pride, and said, in front of a godlike man, whatever demons or ghosts, they will all return to their original forms. With his wretched character, why would he treat us to barbecue? If he's unaccountably solicitous, he's hiding evil intentions. Wah, old man, didn't you say you only had 1 silver spirit card? A Maori looked as though he had discovered a new continent. You're really treacherous. But, since you gave it to Fundamental Tang, I won't argue with you. Fundamental Tang, you look very powerful. Hurry up and train. Old Fartway was startled by Tang Tian's gaze, and touched his face. Is there something on my face? Clap your hands to make an oath. Wah, old man, you're such a country bumpkin. Tang Tian's face was full of disdain. The two of them squatted down, opened their eyes wide, and looked innocently at old Fartway, their gazes pure and flawless. You lousy kid, don't learn from adults. Do you know what clap your hands to make an oath? Old Fartway retorted with the same disdain. Tang Tian's eyes lit up and nodded. I like this. I love fighting. Old man, I couldn't tell, but you have some skills. Don't look down on me. Tang Tian stared. A Maori's copper bell-like eyes flashed, and his carrot-thick fingers started to move quickly. Points are not easy to earn now. Star Wind Martial Meet students from all over the city can participate. Thinking about the cruel process, It's simply infuriating. How many people do we have to fight? The silver white card was shining, and on it was a white figure sitting cross-legged. The card was cold and hard. Tang Tian never thought that old Fart Wei would actually give him a silver white card. Tang Tian retracted his gaze, with a face full of righteousness. I can do it too. You need to have a variety of hand-to-hand techniques. Remember, you are a close-quarters combat expert, not a boxer. Fist techniques, palm techniques, finger techniques, joint techniques, you have to learn all of them. You need to ensure that, after you close the distance between both parties, you have enough methods to quickly finish off the opponent. Oh, now let's talk about this spirit card. Old Fart Wei's expression suddenly became serious. This card was obtained by me in my early years, but at that time I had already surpassed the 3rd level, so I kept it. This spirit card is called Crane-Style Chi Manual. It is an ancient mental cultivation spirit card. The price of a rank 3 mental cultivation spirit card was unimaginable to him. Amauri raised both his hands. I want to be a close-quarters combat expert too. But, hee, you're very ambitious, young man. Old Fart Wei laughed and took out a card. I hope you don't disgrace this spirit card. A more practical problem? Tang Tian unhappily twitched his mouth. Hey, old fart, you're not trying to trick us to do something bad again, are you? I'm not afraid of hardship. Tang Tian shook his head and said seriously. Tang Tian heartlessly shook his head. In front of a godlike young man, any difficulties are nothing. Tang Tian and Amauri were moved. Is it very powerful? Tang Tian asked curiously. Hee, when you grow up, oh, your woman will like this title too. Old Fart Wei said with a wretched face. Amauri did not understand. Why not? Can't you? Tang Tian suddenly turned and asked Amauri. Nonsense. Tang Tian stared at him angrily. Look down on me, Chia, and I will slap hands and swear. Old Fart Wei choked, and then flew into a rage. As students of this school, how can you be so indifferent to the fate of the school? Have your blood turned cold? Are you still men? This broken kid sure has a lot of tricks. Old Fart Wei mumbled. Rank 3 mental cultivation method. Young man, what do you think? Old Fart Wei looked at Tang Tian and suddenly said, your true power is already at the 2nd level. You should quickly enter the 3rd level. That's right. You must strengthen it. Qualified? Outstanding? I want to be a godlike close-quarters combat expert. Tang Tian's face was as it should be, and immediately became unhappy. You actually look down on me. That's not good enough. Oh, of course. Old Fart Wei almost choked on his own saliva and lightly coughed a few times. But you are still far from being a close-quarters combat expert. To become a qualified close-quarters combat expert, other than what you already have, you need to have outstanding light body techniques, and you need to quickly close the distance between both parties. If your light body techniques are not good, then you're dead meat. Old Fart Wei laughed. There's no use telling you now. Wait till you become a close-quarters combat expert, then I'll tell you. You've asked the right person. Old Fart Wei's face showed that he was worth teaching. To enter the 3rd level, other than mental cultivation method, more importantly, you need to start defining your path of development. Blindly being greedy will only scatter your energy and cause you to achieve nothing. Ha! Old Fart Wei laughed. But this road of yours is destined to be bumpy. You need to be mentally prepared. Amauri, oh, quickly say it, quickly say it. Tang Tian's spirit was roused. For so many years, whenever people talked about him, they would be filled with regret and puzzlement. This was the first time he heard someone say that there were pros and cons. Old Fart Wei was silent for a moment and fiercely slapped his thigh, as expected of the two geniuses. Nothing can be hidden from your eyes. All right, then I'll be straightforward. Old Fart Wei ignored him. You've spent a total of 5 years on the fundamental martial techniques. Your foundation is very solid, and it's rather comprehensive. This will be of great help to you in the future when you train your martial techniques. If you practice other martial skills, you will be able to master them quickly. As long as you persevere, you can definitely make up for the lost time. Young lad, I have high hopes for you. That's right, set a sky-high price, and return it as low as you can. Amauri added. Tang Tian was startled. That sounds reasonable. Tang Tian's gaze swept across the spirit card and was momentarily stunned. Silver grade card? That's right. Tang Tian clapped his hands. You must train in light body techniques? Reality proved that a profiteer could not beat a scoundrel. That's right. You must be hiding evil intentions. Amauri raised his voice and agreed. Old Fartway was slightly surprised and stared at Tang Tian for a while and suddenly laughed. This spirit card is not for nothing. I have something to ask of you. If you can't become a close-quarters combat expert, then I won't have any hope for my matter. Oh, you don't dare to accept? Could it be that you have no confidence in yourself? Tang Tian stared at Old Fartway angrily. Old Fart? Who doesn't dare to accept? Who doesn't have confidence? I want to do it too. I want to do it too. Amauri leaned over and extended his hand. No one cared about him. Heaven's Road. Old Fartway's face revealed a look of reminiscence, and with a tinge of confusion. That is a dangerous place full of opportunities. One old and one young, the two palms struck each other heavily. Don't want? Old Fartway was stunned. Why? He glanced at Tang Tian and Amauri and changed the topic. All right, Heaven's Road is still very far away from you guys. Let's talk about a more practical problem now. Chapter 15. Tang Tian retorted with disdain. Housefly cow, just wait to be beaten like a dog. Southern Cross constellation is located between Musca constellation and Centaurus constellation, and is the smallest constellation. The Southern Cross constellation's star treasure, up till now, only one has appeared, and that is the Southern Cross hardship plate. As for its use, I have not found any relevant records. Brother Tian, you have to figure it out yourself. Judging from the name, it should be a star treasure used for cultivation. Those numbers, if I am not wrong, should be related to triggering the bronze plate. Brother Tian, you must remember, do not tell anyone about the bronze plate. Be careful not to attract bad people. The Southern Cross hardship plate is a very good clue. It is the only Southern Cross constellation's star treasure found so far. As long as we go to Southern Cross constellation, we can definitely find more clues. I have already started to collect information on the Southern Cross constellation. Brother Tian, isn't Chia very powerful? Quickly praised Chia. Although Tang Tian was said to be less talented than Amauri, he was not angry. His talent was not as good as housefly cows. He felt lucky in this era. Training only required one spirit card. Every name was in legends, in epics, in books. They were so far away. No matter how difficult or dangerous it is, nothing can stop me. You actually know how to read? Tang Tian was flabbergasted. As long as he broke through to the 4th level, he could train in the Zhou family's famous martial technique, wooden heart sword wheel. I will definitely get to the bottom of this. Mom, I am not afraid. The current heavenly crane constellation is still ruled by the Crane sect, which was established by the inheritor of the Crane's spiritual master. But the current heavenly crane constellation is no longer as glorious as it was in the past, and has become a fringe constellation of Heaven's Road. Old Fartway shook his head regretfully. The Crane sect's inheritor is probably destroyed. If not, it would not be in such a sorry state. There are pros and cons, Old Fartway muttered. In the past, from start to finish, only one type of mental cultivation was enough, and the power was stronger. But if one of the mental cultivation techniques were to be lost, it would be terrible. And now, our Dantian Pool's stairway to heaven is much easier to learn. Moreover, we can learn all kinds of mental cultivation methods. As a result, the threshold for learning is much lower. Rank 3 meant practicing rank 3 mental cultivation techniques and martial techniques. As long as the attributes were the same, one could practice them. If not for this, how could there be the prosperity of today's martial artists? The ancient sects paid too much attention to inheritance. The martial artists they nurtured were more powerful, but the price they had to pay was also higher. If this was in ancient times, Amauri might have been chosen as a disciple. Young man Tang, you're doomed. It'll be difficult for you to even enter the sect. Your son will not disgrace you. The wooden heart sword was famous. It was the best of the rank 4 martial techniques of the Zhou clan. It was famous for its strange transformations. Special training? Tang Tian and Amauri were immediately attracted. Tang Tian read the letter over and over again, word by word. After reading it a few times, he carefully folded it and kept it. Zhou Peng had a high possibility of successfully cultivating the wooden heart sword wheel. Zhou Mu's face was expressionless. Wait till you become the patriarch. Tang Tian raised his right fist and swore to his mother in the heavens, and said to himself, I don't know much about the crane-style chi manual. I only know that its chi channels are long and is good for prolonged battles. I feel that it suits you very well. To a close-quarters combat expert, physical strength is very important. As for the rest, you still need to explore it yourself, but it's said that it's very hard to train. This crane-style chi manual spirit card was obtained by me in the past. Although it's different from the mental cultivation method now, it's still much better than the average mental cultivation method. Old Fart Wei immediately waved his hand. All right, that's all I know. Don't ask me about the rest. However, the wooden heart sword wheel was extremely difficult to train. Many disciples had tried to train in it, but all of them failed. Generations of Zhou clan disciples who trained in it did not fail. Then which one is better? Tang Tian could not help but ask. Seeing that Zhou Peng had opened his eyes, Zhou Mu said expressionlessly, I just received news that Tang Tian has registered to participate in this year's Star Wind Martial Meet. The Patriarch has registered you, and this is your chance to wipe away your shame. Tang Tian scratched his head. It sounds very powerful. Amauri was slightly excited. Fundamental Tang, hurry up and train. Wait till your true power is at the 3rd level, then we'll fight again. I've also come up with many powerful techniques, and I'll definitely beat you down. Old Fart Wei interrupted the two of them. What are you arguing about? Hurry up and train. Hey, let me tell you guys, in order for you guys to not embarrass me in the Star Wind Martial Meet, I've prepared a special training for you guys. The astonishing number of star rocks, when piled up, was equally astonishing. Amauri blushed. Occasionally, ancient spirit cards were synonymous with high-quality spirit cards. Wood-type martial techniques were the Zhou clan's most proficient martial techniques, and in this line of martial techniques, the Zhou clan's inheritance was profound. For the Zhou clan to be able to stand alone in Wu and Star, naturally they had their own unique points. The Zhou clan was most famous for their series of wood-type martial techniques. Zhou Peng's current true power was not far from the 3rd level of perfection, and very soon, he would be able to rush into the 4th level. 4th level true power, in the entire Star Wind City's academies, was definitely a top expert. The two of them suddenly understood and nodded their heads. Tang Tian's expression was normal, but his heart was in turmoil. If not for Chie, he would never have believed it. Opening the envelope, the pink envelope emitted a faint fragrance, and Chie's graceful handwriting appeared in front of Tang Tian's eyes. Tang Tian carefully, as though he was holding a treasure, greedily reading every word. The letter was very long, and it was obvious that Chie had written it for a long time. Tang Tian silently muttered in his heart, his eyes dazed. But all these star treasures were all linked to great heroes and exceptional martial artists. For example, Lion King Lei Ang's Raging Lionheart Sword was a Leo constellation star treasure. Archer Saint Ho E Tian's Heavenly Bow was Sagittarius constellation's #1 treasure. Your past, what exactly is it? I will definitely become the patriarch. I will kill you. Kill Tang Tian. Kill everyone who goes against me. Zhou Peng said fiercely. Finished, without saying a word, he picked up a star rock and started to instigate his mental cultivation. After a while, the star rock lost its light, and with a crack, it shattered, and the pieces fell down. The floor was covered with a thick layer of these pieces, and Zhou Peng's consumption of star rocks in the past few days was astonishing. Tang Tian's mood was bright, not only because he received the crane-style chi manual from Old Fart Wei, but also because he received Chie's letter. Secret star treasure. The copper plate was actually a secret star treasure. Brother Tian, how have you been recently? I miss you very much. Everything here is so boring. I don't like this place. I don't like the rules here. I don't like the people here. Brother Tian, wait for you to come. We will secretly go to Heaven's Road. I have already started to prepare. They don't know. They don't believe in Brother Tian, but I believe Brother Tian will definitely succeed. I'm 100% sure of it. All right, Brother Tian, I finally found some clues about the bronze plate. The cross on the bronze plate is the symbol of the Southern Cross constellation. If the book is not wrong, it is most likely the Southern Cross constellation's star treasure. Its name is the Southern Cross hardship plate. In all the star treasures, there is very little information about it. Zhou Peng's eyes were filled with deep hatred and killing intent. He is dead. I will personally kill him. Zhou Mu, wait for me to become the patriarch. You are dead. Zhou Peng clenched his teeth and said, finished. He turned around and immersed himself in training. Hey, you will know when the time comes. Old Fart Wei laughed sinisterly. Tang Tian's expression congealed and became serious. He looked extremely carefully. A Maori's eyes lit up. Wawa, I have heard of this name before. The ancient Eastern martial artists were all very powerful. I remember there was a book that said, the crane's spiritual master swept across the land. Heaven's road was long. The stars were like the sea. These stars were divided into constellations. According to legend, every constellation would have a unique mystical treasure, and that was the star treasure. Zhou Peng's innate talent and bone structure was not bad. His wood-type bone structure was outstanding, and he was outstanding among the younger generation of the Zhou family disciples. It was just that he was usually too hedonistic, lawless, and now that he was forced into a corner, he had nowhere to retreat, and improved unexpectedly fast. The so-called ancient spirit cards were spirit cards that had been passed down since ancient times. To be able to withstand the annihilation of time and still be preserved, the martial spirit imprint on the card would definitely be condensed and pure. Zhou Mu did not give any face, and even personally taught Zhou Peng a few lessons. Zhou Peng knew that there was no chance of getting lucky this time, and actually displayed a rarely seen ruthlessness. Voila! A basin of ice water was poured over his head. This card is a genuine Crane Sect mental cultivation spirit card. It has been around for a long time. The mental cultivation of the Crane Sect is famous for being hard to cultivate. This is probably the reason why the Crane Sect kept on falling. The mental cultivation at that time was not the same as what we have now. They paid more attention to continuity and could not be used between each other. But the mental cultivation now is more focused on the level and not on continuity. Suddenly, one day, Tang Tian found a bronze plate that had accompanied him since he was young. It was actually a star treasure. Although it looked ordinary, Tang Tian could smell a trace of something unusual from it. The letter had been through the long heavens road, and the envelope was already somewhat old. Why didn't you tell me, Xianxia? You can do it. Zhou Peng's skin was tanned, his lips were parched, he was too tired, he could not even open his eyes. If Zhou Peng could cultivate the wooden heart sword wheel, then the matter of him becoming the next patriarch would be set in stone. Even the great clan elder would definitely not object. But very quickly, he woke up, his heart was filled with a heroic spirit, the bewilderment in his eyes was swept away, and he once again clenched his fist. The creator of this card is the pioneer of the heavenly crane constellation, known as the Crane Dancer, the Crane Spiritual Master. Old Fart Wei's eyes flashed with respect. Chapter 16. Do you know why you were suppressed by Tang Tian? Unknowingly, Old Fart Wei had a broken blade in his hand, and his expression was serious, which was rarely seen. The spirit card suddenly exploded with light rays, and the dazzling silver light flooded the entire room. A clear cry of a crane suddenly sounded out in Tang Tian's heart. Tang Tian drew a line with his pen, his expression focused. Tang Tian walked to the front of the light door, and sure enough, on the light door, there was a white crane flapping its wings, looking very real. The white crane's gaze was as sharp as an arrow, its claws were like steel, its body was graceful, and its beak was sharp. Seems like it? Amauri's face showed that he was deep in thought. Stepping into the third level, the explosive increase in true power made Tang Tian feel that he had an endless amount of energy and was unprecedentedly strong. Tang Tian could not help but be speechless. The ancient martial artists were really powerful, such complicated things, even he was slightly dizzy. Tang Tian stood up, the hesitation on his face was swept away, and he became firm and resolute again. Yes, he did not have time to waste. If he could not even endure this pain, then what dream was there to talk about? Chia, I recently made a friend, called a Maori. He is a very interesting person. Although he is ugly and looks very fierce, he is actually a good person. He is a chatterbox, has a bad brain, and is even more stupid than me. Sometimes he is a little annoying and often provokes me. I call him Housefly Cow. His dream is to pursue his own martial path. I am a little worried for his intelligence, but I will help him, because he said that I am a godlike man. Oh, I feel that this nickname suits me very well. Chia, let me tell you a piece of good news. I have already started to train in rank 2 martial techniques. I have just experienced an extremely powerful 10 days of training, although it is very difficult, but to a godlike man, all the training is a piece of cake. Oh, I completed it easily, but I will not be arrogant. I do not have much time, I cannot waste it. Although the new principal looks wretched, he is a good person. He gave me a silver mental cultivation spirit card, and it is an ancient spirit card. I will quickly go to Immortal Constellation to find you. You have to bring me to eat golden coconut. That's right. You have to learn to go all out against any opponent. This is the respect a martial artist deserves. You shouldn't be like this. Furthermore, although your talent is stronger than Tang Tian's, you lack his ferocity. Old Fartway said. Tang Tian raised his arms high and shouted like a hero. As expected, Southern Cross Constellation Hardship Plate. That's right, although he admired Fundamental Tang, he did not pay enough attention to Fundamental Tang. Without Tang Tian's ferocity, he would naturally be suppressed. The morning sun shone into the house through the wooden window, bringing with it a trace of the unique coldness of the morning, but also warmth and hope. He doesn't look like he's easy to deal with, Tang Tian muttered. He stared at the route in a daze. Suddenly, he exclaimed, as if he had discovered a new continent. Looks like I did a good job. Tang Tian was pleasantly surprised. Sure enough, good things kept happening one after another. Ever since the last ascetic cultivation, he hadn't come here again. He didn't expect that there would be a second round of ascetic cultivation. Ferocity? A Maori muttered to himself. Tang Tian's strongest point is that he is fearless. It's as if he doesn't know what fear is. You can't do that. Fear isn't shameful. It's human instinct. But if you want to become stronger, you have to overcome it. Old Fartway rarely used such a sharp tone. At this moment, he didn't have any of his usual sloppiness. He was like an unsheathed blade. At the edge of the third-tier Dantian pool, there were countless of tiny meridians. These meridians were the routes of the third-tier mental cultivation method. Every level of mental cultivation method involved different meridians. You're too obsessed with meaningless things. For example, the last time, why did you use your bare hands? You specialize in the blade, but you actually used your bare hands to fight with Tang Tian. Don't you think that's wrong? Old Fartway squinted his eyes. The more he looked, the more he felt that it was the case. Aha, I'm indeed a genius. With one look, I can see through the essence. Even a godlike young lad couldn't take it. Tang Tian's palm warmed up. The light arrow seemed to be attracted and drilled into his palm. If he didn't recognize it, such a complicated mental cultivation method, wouldn't he die from it? Crane-style Chi Manual, S routes were too complicated. Compared to Crane-style Chi Manual, Secrets of Cultivating Chi was as simple as a piece of white paper. No wonder he felt that it was so complicated. That Crane spiritual master was so bored that his balls hurt. He actually came up with such a strange route map. A Maori's eyes turned red. He clenched his fists tightly. This was the first time he was understood by someone. The silver light that filled the sky transformed into a light arrow and entered Tang Tian's body. A Maori immediately became spirited. Why? Tang Tian had completed the most important task. Without any worries, he decided to start training crane-style chi manual. Silver spirit card, ancient spirit card, any one of these points meant that it was not cheap. Combining the two together, even Tang Tian, who had no business sense, could guess that it was expensive. Tang Tian disapproved of Crane's spiritual master. To him, the simpler things in this world, the better. Tang Tian really guessed a part of it correctly. The mental cultivation method of the Crane sect was too complicated. It was indeed the main reason why the Crane sect declined. The third-level Dantian pool gradually stabilized. Tang Tian persisted in activating Crane-style Qi manual. This training lasted for 2 whole hours before the Dantian pool was filled again. We are the same kind of people, Amauri. I had the same dream in the past. I couldn't achieve it, but it's not a pity. It's a pity that I'm old and can't walk anymore. Amauri, I hope that you can walk further than me. I hope that you can achieve this great dream. That is also my dream. He was telling the story of his heart, telling the story of his life. Your talent is outstanding. Your character is simple. You are very suitable for blade techniques. This is the reason why I like you. You are more suitable for blade techniques than Tang Tian. He is a natural-born close-quarters combat expert. Old Fartway said in a deep voice. I know that you are determined to create your own path of martial arts. This is a great dream. Many people will laugh at you for overestimating yourself. But to me, this dream is great. Those who laugh at you are all people without dreams. They are very timid. They stand on small hills and look at the distant mountain peaks. They don't even have the courage to think about it. At this time, Tang Tian had the spirit body possession. Crane-style Qi manual, all sorts of tricks flowed quickly in his mind. His heart moved. He started to activate Crane-style Qi manual. Wah, young man Tang is fearless. Go, go, go. Just like the previous time, he passed through the white crane on the cross door. The moment he passed through the cross door, his body trembled. The white crane on the cross door shattered. At this time, he suddenly noticed a line of words behind the cross door. You don't have time to waste. The first round of hardship training is completed. Completion rate is good. The second round of hardship training is activated. Duration, 10 days. Tang Tian's spirit was roused. He activated his mental cultivation. After going back and forth a few times, he was more and more certain that the circulation route of Crane-style Qi manual was just right to outline the shape of a crane. Amauri was speechless. Tang Tian's ruthlessness, Amauri had a deeper impression of it. But, since he had boasted previously, Tang Tian braced himself. He started to follow the circulation route of cultivating Qi manual and carefully activated his true power. When Xie received this letter, he would definitely become stronger. The simple-minded Tang Tian was immediately filled with adrenaline. He was full of fighting spirit again. He also felt that it was weird. He did not know why, but every time he fought with Tang Tian, he would always be suppressed by Tang Tian. He could not understand it. Old Fartway was like a different person. He held his blade and stood upright. His imposing manner was unparalleled. His head of white hair fluttered in the air. All great dreams sound like a joke. All great roads are destined to be bumpy. But so what? Other than staying where you are to avoid being tripped by the stones on the road, which road in this world is smooth? Life is destined to be difficult. If you don't even have dreams, then you will be overshadowed. Tang Tian finally understood why old Fartway said that Crane-style Qi manual was hard to train. The capacity of the newly formed Dantian pool was many times larger than the Dantian pool below. If the second-tier Dantian pool was like a small teacup, then the third-tier Dantian pool was like a small basin. Wild Earth Blade. Amauri, are you willing to learn? But the wall of perfection instantly shattered. In Amauri's mind, an oppressive figure appeared. Without hesitation, he shook his head. No. Isn't this just the shape of a crane? The complicated route caused Tang Tian to feel dizzy. Since he had discovered the secret of Crane-style Qi manual, this Crane-style Qi manual was no longer a problem for Tang Tian. Looking at the shape of the crane, he fumbled a few times. Tang Tian memorized the route of the mental cultivation method. Tang Tian's mind trembled. The clear cry of the crane seemed to contain a kind of emotion. I will do my best to learn. I don't mind you inheriting this sect. I only hope that you will not take a detour. Such a great dream. This road is destined to be filled with endless hardships and sufferings. What I have walked on is only a small part of it. All I can provide you is only this little bit of strength. That's right. It's ruthless. Old Fart Wei squinted his eyes. If Tang Tian had a target like Liang Qiu, he would definitely kill without hesitation. If he was defeated, he would come back in 2 days. If he failed, he would come back again. He would definitely fight until he won. This shows that you do not value Tang Tian enough. Old Fart Wei hit the nail on the head. I heard that Liang Qiu is your target. If you were to fight against Liang Qiu, would you use your bare hands? The first thing he did when he woke up was to write a letter to Chia. Carefully, he took out the silver card and injected true power into it. When Tang Tian's eyes swept across the line of words, he froze. Above the Dantian pool, there was a strong suction force. The true power in the Dantian pool turned into a thin stream and flowed upwards. In the blink of an eye, a brand new Dantian pool formed above the second-tier Dantian pool. He carefully sealed the letter. But Tang Tian did not immediately start his hardship training. The previous hardship training had left him with lingering fears. The continuous crazy hardship training was simply a form of torture. He could not remember how he managed to endure it. But the hardship training was truly terrifying. He thought of Chia, thought of everyone's promise, and thought of the oath he swore. The decline of the Crane sect really deserved it. An indescribable feeling filled his entire body. Tang Tian's perfect second-tier Dantian pool suddenly gave birth to a surge of power. He had to get back the 5 years. He had to work hard to find Chia and go to Heaven's Road. Chapter 17. To become a godlike close-quarters combat expert. Amauri's tone was filled with envy. He felt that to be able to sleep for 3 days was an incredible thing. Old Fart Wei grinned and hugged him. I had no choice but to thicken my skin and borrow your place for a while. At least when Tang Tian came out from the cross-light door, he was awake and not unconscious. Amauri laughed out loud. Fundamental Tang, I have also learned a new martial technique, Wild Earth Blade. It is very powerful. Come, let us spar. This time, I will definitely treat it seriously. Old Fart is right. Only by using the strongest martial technique to defeat the opponent is the greatest respect to the enemy. Old Fart Wei shook his head and pointed at Amauri. He majored in blade techniques, and I had my eyes on him for a few years. Finally, I lured him, recruited him. At this time, a middle-aged man walked over. Looking at the entire Wu and Star, Crystal Sky Academy was one of the top schools. The quality of the bronze level card was not high, and the creator of the flash fist technique was probably not that proficient in the flash fist technique. You are finally here. The old man suddenly laughed, took a step forward and opened his arms. Amauri had long heard Tang Tian's voice. He stopped and turned around with the wooden blade resting on his shoulder. His entire body was drenched in sweat. Looking at Tang Tian, he laughed. Fundamental Tang, you are finally awake. I wanted to wake you up, but the old man said you were mentally exhausted and told you to sleep. But you were able to sleep for 3 days. That is amazing. The flash fist technique was even more so. Tang Tian once again fell into a deep sleep. This was not the first time Tang Tian had done such a thing. Tang Tian was stunned. He walked out of the wooden house, stuffed his hands into his pockets, and walked to the side of the training grounds. He jumped onto a wooden pole at the side of the training grounds. Yo, young lad, you are very hardworking. The 3 of them were dressed in a way that was incompatible with Crystal Sky Academy. Tang Tian was not satisfied with this result. He was used to 100% perfect strike rate, and 74% was too horrible to look at. However, he was not in a hurry. After 5 years of training in fundamental martial techniques, he was even more patient. Yes. The 2 of us are geniuses. We're definitely worth a lot of money. A Maori nodded repeatedly. Tang Tion's face immediately revealed an incomparably brilliant smile. Old man, I'm saying that you're simply too amazing. You can even train this stupid cow. The middle-aged man still had a faint smile on his face. Although he hid his emotions very well, he couldn't help but show some disdain when he heard these two sentences. Who are you calling a country bumpkin? A gloomy voice came from behind Tang Tion. The training this time was still painful, but it was much better than the last time. What shocked him even more was that his third-level crane true power actually had a slight improvement. This guy must be doing this on purpose. What are you screaming for? Old Fart Wei suddenly stared at a Maori. A Maori immediately kept quiet out of fear. Crystal Sky Academy was huge. After walking for a while, they finally reached the principal's office. When the middle-aged man saw the old man standing at the door, his heart suddenly jumped. He had followed the principal for many years, but this was the first time he saw the principal standing outside to welcome them personally. However, the three of them did not have any uneasiness. Old Fart Wei, on the other hand, had a dignified look on his face. Tang Tion and a Maori had a look of curious babies. Whatever they saw, they would exclaim in surprise. The midday sun brought with it a scorching heat wave, and it hit him head-on. There were many facilities in Crystal Sky Academy that they had never seen before. He's not an ordinary close-quarters combat expert. The old man's eyes were filled with interest. He laughed. Let's talk inside. Assistant Su, bring these two kids around. Then he pulled Tang Tion over. I think he's more suited to be a close-quarters combat expert. You know, I'm not good at this. I don't want to hold him up, so I brought him along. Tang Tion had a strange feeling in his heart. He subconsciously scratched his head. Could it be that something happened in the 3 days that he was asleep? Since when did this stupid cow listen to Old Fart Wei? As such, the success rate of the flash fist rose rapidly. The highest success rate he had ever achieved was 74%. I am. Old Fart Wei said casually. Old Fart Wei nodded his head and said to Tang Tion and a Maori, follow him, don't get lost. Bronze spirit cards contain the most superficial and vague understanding. How to strengthen it, how to cultivate it to a deeper level, depended on the individual's understanding and hard work. This made Tang Tion very happy. Tang Tion could not help but say, Old Fart, we're all cleaner than you. Tang Tion quivered. When he turned his head, he saw Old Fart Wei staring at him with an unkind face. Although the spirit card possession method could allow a person to quickly learn it, it also had a few flaws. Crystal Sky Academy was the #1 school in Star Wind City, and was also the most prestigious school in Star Wind City. To be able to enter the school, one was either rich or noble, or they were geniuses. Other than the few years when Wuxia Shanghai appeared out of nowhere, Crystal Sky Academy's #1 position was as stable as a boulder. In the entire Star Wind City, it had the strongest teachers, the most complete training facilities, the biggest Star Rock shop, the most high-end spirit card shop. On the training grounds, a Maori was sweating profusely. Every blade was extremely serious. Alright, today I'll bring you guys to a place. Old Fart Wei waved his hand. Go and clean up, don't embarrass me. But such a crazy training made him mentally exhausted. The veins on Tang Tion's forehead twitched, and he pretended to be deep in thought. Of course, a godlike young lad sleeps like a god. This is called a sleeping god. Oh, housefly cow, you must work hard. I'm now training crane-style chi manual. It's very fierce. Be careful not to be beaten like a dog by me. Tang Tion and a Maori looked at the 4 big words above their heads, their faces sluggish. On it was written Crystal Sky Academy, and around the 3 of them, there was an endless stream of people. These people were all dressed in extraordinary clothes and had an imposing appearance. Hey, Old Fart, are you sure you didn't bring us to the wrong place? A Maori could not help but ask. Excuse me, are you Principal Wei? His flash fist technique's success rate fluctuated between 60% and 70%. As the number of times he trained increased, Tang Tion realized that there were some slight inconsistencies. He tried to correct these inconsistencies, and it was because of this that the success rate of the flash fist technique increased significantly. Tang Tian could not explain it, but the fundamental fist techniques were imprinted into his bones and became his instinct. What was right, what was awkward, he could feel it. Yes, and he's not an ordinary close-quarters combat expert, Old Fartway said. Tang Tian's perception was average, but his fundamentals were very solid. After training for a long time, some of the inconsistencies would immediately be blown away like dust and appear. Oh, why are my eyelids so heavy? So sleepy. He pushed open the door, and the sunlight outside made his eyes bright. Before he finished his sentence, he disappeared from their sight like a wisp of smoke. When he was training the fundamental martial techniques, he had already gotten used to it. If he followed his teacher's teachings, it would always be difficult to reach a more perfect stage. His fundamental martial techniques could only be trained to such a perfect stage was because of his constant correction. His crane-style chi manual improved at lightning speed, and the concentration of energy behind the cross door was very high. Crane-style chi manual had already reached a certain scale. The complex and profound mental cultivation route, Tang Tian remembered it by heart. The crane shape was to draw a small crane. Rank 2 fist techniques and fundamental fist techniques were closely related, and the flash fist technique was no exception. Although this result was not as shocking as Wang Zhen's, but if it was released, it would definitely scare a lot of people. Close quarters combat expert? Old Fartway's eyes flashed, and could not help but re-evaluate Tang Tian. Between us, there's no need to say such polite words. Old Fartway laughed, turned his face, and looked up and down at Tang Tian and Amauri, and asked with interest, "These are the disciples you chose?" The middle-aged man hurriedly bowed and replied, "Yes." Crane-style chi manual was indeed like what Old Fartway said. The chi channels were long and lasting. Tang Tian's endurance was already very shocking, and with the addition of crane-style chi manual, he did not know how it would be used in actual combat, but it was very suitable for training. The training time was greatly increased, and this directly caused his training speed to increase by leaps and bounds. The two of them obediently followed behind him. Tang Tian's head was full of black lines, and he muttered softly, "It's over. This brat has already been brainwashed by that country bumpkin old fart." Tang Tian's thinking was very simple. As long as he changed the awkward parts to not awkward, the higher the success rate of the flash fist technique, the more correct it would be. After such a torment, his flash fist technique began to quietly change and became more filled with Tang Tian's personal style. Fist techniques, finger techniques, palm techniques, light body arts, joint techniques. The students along the way saw the three of them and were somewhat surprised. Fundamental Tang. "You dare say I'm stupid? You're dead!" Amauri shouted. When Tang Tian woke up, it was already 3 days later. He slept for an entire 3 days, and Tang Tian was filled with shock at his own ability to sleep. When Tang Tian crawled out from behind the cross door like a dead dog, he had already accumulated a total of 80,000 flash fists. It has to be said that the crane-style chi manual's endurance was very strong, and Tang Tian was able to spend more time on training and not meditating. And Tang Tian's valiant ability to adapt was fully displayed. Even though it was only the second time, Tang Tian had already begun to adapt. "I have to train all of them. This is not normal, not normal. We have to be careful. Don't get betrayed by the old fart." Tang Tian lowered his voice. Occasionally, they would cast strange glances, and the three of them dressed in old and tattered clothes were extremely eye-catching. So strange. Oh, training was originally a painstaking effort. Housefly cow. The depth of understanding contained in the spirit card was directly linked to the level of the creator. To expect a person with average strength to be able to create an excellent spirit card was simply a pipe dream. Tang Tian anxiously crawled up, wasting 3 days of time, and this made him feel a little heartache. Old Fartway, who was in front, was somewhat embarrassed and did not seem to make any moves, but Tang Tian and Amauri's heads were knocked at the same time. "Please follow me. The principal has been waiting for you for a long time." The middle-aged man was extremely courteous as he led the way. Old Fartway's face flushed red and lightly coughed. Wait for me. Training efficiency had increased, and he had the hardship plate, so he was not afraid of training even more martial techniques. To be able to increase true power while sleeping, what kind of strange true power was this? You're tuning into the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.